Hello and good morning if you're here near the East Coast and it's morning. Good day if you're someplace else
Yeah.
and it's not morning, or good
if
night. I don't know.
yeah, if you're West Coast and it's very early
Yeah,
morning,
right.
thank you for joining us.
And you're like a hero. And welcome to Dork Tales and also welcome to Branch Riders. Branch Riders being the part that I know the most about. We're going to take a moment to introduce our awesome players, and then I'll introduce myself and the game, and then we'll get into character creation. And we're going to go in the order that I have on my screen. So, Jack, I'd like you to let us know how you would like to be known and anything you'd like to say about yourself.
All right. So I am Jack Birkenstock, he, him pronouns. I am the executive director of the Bodhana Group, which is 501c3 nonprofit that uses tabletop gaming, board, and RPG for education, skill building, and therapy. We are not only providers of services, but we're also trainers and consultants for professionals who wish to use this in their practice. We're also the runners of the Save Against Fear convention, the beneficiaries of portions of OnyxPath Virtual Con. So thank you again, team at OnyxPath, for helping Bodhana out as always. And I'm also part of the design team for the Branch Riders RPG that you will be discovering with everybody today. So I think that's most of the brief deets because oh boy, could I go on. So so that's me in the short and sweet.
Awesome. Crystal, let us know how you'd like to be known and anything else you want to say about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Crystal Mazer, she, her mix. I am a educator as well as a freelance writer and game developer. I've worked with several projects for OnyxPath, which is the convention that you guys are watching. Um, and then I've also actually done a workshop with Bodhana Group as well.
Yes, at
So
one of
for
our saves.
yeah, so two organizations that are very near and dear to my heart.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Next, I have Michelle. Let us know how you'd like to be known and anything else you'd like to say about yourself.
You're mooted.
I hardware muted myself because I had to cough. Tech happens. Hi, my name is Michelle Sealight, and I've already scuffed the stream. My name is Michelle Sealight. I am a semi-professional storyteller and tabletop RPG author, as well as a Twitch streamer and I guess semi-professional voice actor. I've been paid for it, so it counts.
That's professional. Yeah.
Yeah. And my name is Michelle. I go by she, her, and I'm just really excited to be here. I know it's like 9 a.m. where I am, but I'm really excited to be here.
Cool. I am too, even though it is early for me as well on a Saturday. And next, Zach, let us know how you'd like to be known and anything else you would like to say about yourself.
Hello, I'm Zachary Naldra, he, him, known as Zach Rules on the Bird app and various other internet places that I don't go. If you go to Zach Rules and it's not me, that's probably Zach Ruiz because he got there first. I am a tabletop freelance writer and community content writer. Written for Third Eye Games, Onyx Path, and High Level Games, and happy to be here.
Awesome. And I'm excited to have all of you here with me. My name is Doug Underhill on the internet. Doug Hagler is my government name. I go by he, him. And I will be the GM this morning. I am also one of the writers on the RPG Branch Riders, which we are going to be playing. I'm a member of the board of the Bodhana Group, and then do some freelancy things in addition to that. This is actually my first stream. So this is the internet debut of Branch Riders and also my debut of being on a Twitch stream. So yay! As I had said, if I do anything that violates Twitch etiquette that I don't realize, please feel free to let me know. And otherwise, I'll just run this like a game on Zoom. All right. So, Branch Riders. In the game of Branch Riders, you play Branch Riders, who are highly trained specialists who are chosen because they have two abilities that most people in the 8 realms do not have. One of those abilities is that you are able to travel between the 8 realms. Some can do that innately. Usually you need some help, but most people cannot do that at all. It's either too arduous, or they get shunted off in the wrong direction, or they can never even get started. The second ability that you have innately that most people do not is you are able to perceive something called the blight. The blight is a sort of a contagious energy that corrupts whatever it touches, whatever it's near, and the blight is a threat to the 8 realms. And your job as a branch rider is to travel between the realms when other people cannot, and to deal with the blight, which other people cannot. And so when you're sent into a situation on a mission, you're sent because no one else can address this particular problem that you are sent to address. Where a lot of games assume that the problem is addressed with violence. That's always an option in branch riders. There are lots of other options. There are some blights you'll encounter that violence will make them stronger, and it's not going to help. And so part of the challenge is figuring out how to address whatever's going on in the situation, whatever maybe has caused this blight. Sometimes it's simple, straightforward. Sometimes it's complicated. So that is the basic premise of the game. In order to play, as I said, you'll be rolling a handful of almost always 3 dice. And those dice will be some mix of D12, D10, D8, D6, D4. And I see some of you have special dice, which are beautiful. Excellent. Michelle has rainbow dice. So you can have multiples of different kinds of dice, or roll the same die a couple times if you need to, etc. We'll talk about how we figure out our dice pools very soon. Let's see. All right. My basic plan for our game this morning is intros and character creation, and then we're going to take a little break. And then we're going to do something that's about Act 1 of the scenario. And then when it feels like we've done Act 1, or there's a good cliffhanger, or it's just been about an hour, we're going to have another little break. And then we're going to have Act 2, conclude everything with a bang, hopefully, and be done right before noon.
Yep. And hopefully also catch some, insights and reflections, how you enjoyed it. So
yeah. Time at the end, if you want to talk about the game, that can be helpful for us, because this is functionally an alpha playtest, since the creator is present. Although the manuscript is pretty far along, feedback is great and welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Character creation. I sent out a document with a bunch of stuff in it that I had cut and pasted from our main rules draft. I'm going to open up.
Michelle looks excited.
I already come up with the concept.
Nice. Beautiful. So when you're creating a character for branch riders, the first decision you need to make is what realm you grew up in, because each of you was born in one of the 8 realms, and then you were later recruited and brought to the Nexus for training. The Nexus is like an intersection between the 8 realms. People live there. You can sort of teleport out to the realms and then teleport back. And once you're a branch rider, the Nexus is really your home. You're not supposed to go back to your home realm and visit your parents, because that can cause trouble when they're like, where have you been? And you can't tell them. So you live in the Nexus in the day-to-day, but you have a home realm, and that home realm colors and determines a lot about who you are, potentially. We have a Doppel Michelle. That's exciting.
That's not one of the gifts.
It is actually
broken the game.
Yeah, it is. There is a gift that does that. I don't know if it's available this time around. We'll get there. So your first choice is, you're a hero from what realm? And I believe you have a list of realms in the document. In one of the documents I sent out, because I also sent you all character sheets. And I'm just going to run through. I'm going to scroll up to that. and I'm going to run through the realms briefly. I want to make sure I don't forget one. All right, so there are 8 realms. The Borderlands is a creative outpost of civilization surrounded by a wilderness that is unpredictable, in part because it is psychoactive. So the world of the Borderlands, the farther you go out into the wild, the more the world responds to your thoughts and feelings and your unconscious mind. And so in order to survive in the Borderlands, you have to have a really strong imagination, and you need to have a lot of self-control. And one of the ways that comes out in the Borderlands is that people express it through art. And so art is a big theme in the Borderlands. And then the feel for the Borderlands, the genre is kind of a Old West in terms of the tropes, and less a historical Old West and more like a mythic Old West. Next are the boroughs. The boroughs are a world that is a city. It is somewhere in the kind of vague noir 1930s and 40s. And it is a city with a lot of strange unanswered questions and mysteries to it. So one of the questions that some people dare to answer is, why can't we leave the city? What is there outside of it? Why are there authorities trying to keep us in the city but not explaining why? Otherwise, people go through their lives and sometimes don't think about these things. Have you ever met somebody who lives in Manhattan and has only been to Manhattan and the 5 boroughs, maybe, and that's kind of their world? That's what people in the boroughs are like. There's the city, and then there's a vague world out there, I'm sure, but I don't need to go anywhere. I live in the greatest city in the world. A big thing about the boroughs is that the people who live there are anthropomorphic animals. And we lost Michelle. So I think we'll pause for a moment.
I will take this moment to ask if I can be so that if anthropomorphic animals in the boroughs means I could be a minotaur.
Yeah, sure.
All right, I'm gonna be from the boroughs.
Okay, cool.
Putting that on my sheet.
All right, cool. So at the top of your sheet, just put hero of the boroughs.
All right, I have a question about the Borderlands.
Totally.
With like it's art and expression. So does it, if it's like non-traditional, is that okay? Type of art or expression?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's as much Jackson Pollock as there is Degas.
Okay.
Yeah, the tropes are Western, but the art you could draw from any time period, any style. Think of it as like a civilization where the art has advanced far beyond everything else.
Okay. What would something like cooking be then? Would that be considered an art or an expression?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cuisine.
Nice.
Because that's an area for imagination to be used. It's a way to like kind of get control of your surroundings if you're cooking. Like you bring the chaos in the kitchen into a beautiful meal. That's perfect.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah, I don't want to have I wouldn't say in the Borderlands, I don't think there's a big distinction between art and craft. I think that they kind of view everything as potentially art, which is my preferred view anyway. So,
okay, cool.
All right, next is the Chain. The Chain is an archipelago of scattered islands. The genre tropes are steampunky. Lots of focus on invention and exploration. The Chain is also where this scenario will be taking place. And so if you are a hero of the Chain, you'll be visiting a place you're familiar with. The big thing with the Chain that sets it apart is that there's an authority called the Imperium that controls large sections of the Chain. Many of the islands are at least nominally under Imperium control, and they have harnessed blight energy to use in technology and weaponry, which is very disturbing to people in the Nexus, because your whole reason for being is to fight the blight and eliminate it and drive it back. And here's this place that's using blight and experimenting with it to create technology and weaponry. It's very important that kind of thing doesn't get out. Next, we have the Crags. The Crags is a fantasy setting. So pseudo medieval, semi-historical, all different fantasy creatures dwell there. There's magic that is based on it's rune magic, where you affix runes to objects and then use those objects for your magic. And the Crags is a very difficult place to live. The blight has seeped into the land itself, and so when you are traveling, it's like the world is out to get you. It's trying to kill you. So that comes through with severe lethal weather. That comes through with monsters being birthed out in the wilds, and so settlements are little points of light in the crags, surrounded by kind of a menacing dark wilderness. The next setting is the Heights. Picture like a silver and golden age comics, 1960s futurism. Most people live in cities. It's pretty urban. And the thing in the Heights is that everyone has a superpower, or at least as far as you know. There are rumors of people who do not have super abilities, but if there are, they wouldn't even be able to function in society. They must live someplace else. Because if you're from the Heights, everyone you've met has a superpower, and that superpower could be the ability to like steam milk incredibly well at a cafe with pyrokinesis, or it could be the full Superman suite of powers. The Heights is not fair. You don't get equal powers. Some people get a lot. Some people get ones that's very specific. The other thing about the Heights that makes it kind of an odd place is that the Heights has developed social media earlier than would technologically make sense. So most people in the Heights have something that's kind of like a Pip-Boy from Fallout, where they're able to like turn dials and keep track of different feeds, and people are staring into cathode ray screens and listening to the radio to get updates about their favorite heroes and their favorite villains. And it's one of the ways that they channel the antagonism between different super characters, is that it's like you're fighting to control the world. You're fighting for clout, and you're fighting for popularity. And so you want to be the most dramatic villain. You want to be the most heroic hero, and then people capitalize on this. And so you can get corporate sponsorship. You can cut advertisements for different products in the middle of a battle with your nemesis. And all of this can be very profitable for everyone involved.
How high does your cape book fly?
Right. Cape book is what they call kind of their general social media system, that most heroes and villains are on, and many people are kind of obsessed with watching. Next realm is the Party. The Party is an authoritarian dystopia where punk rock wizards fight for the right to feel emotions. The Party is so there's this form of magic in the realm of the Party. People who practice it call it flow. People who try to repress it call it fervency. And this form of magic draws on emotional energy and then channels it. And it becomes dangerous because if you have a huge crowd of people all feeling similar emotions and you channel that, you can do catastrophic magical effects. And in the past, there were wars between wizards wielding this power against each other. And so as a response to try to get a handle on things, this organization called Control was founded. And the idea with Control is that they will bring peace and order by repressing emotions, psychologically, chemically, etc. We can't let anyone wield this unruly power. And so Control is in control of the setting for the most part. And so people who are resisting Control are trying to provoke emotions in each other, trying to bring together people who can use this magic, and generally causing trouble and trying to be provocateurs. Second to last setting is the Rails. The Rails is a post-apocalyptic setting where everyone is focused on survival and immediacy. This is the other setting where there are anthropomorphic animals. This is actually the place where they came from. There was an outbreak of a viral therapy that was supposed to grant limited animal traits to athletes to help bolster their physical abilities. That mutated and it got out of hand. And so now in the Rails, you have the feral, who are people who have just gone animalistic and hostile and who kind of hunt snarling through the ruined cities, looking for things to eat and things to chase. And then you have the survivors who still have anthro characteristics, but they are the people who are able to run and jump and climb and fight well enough to survive. And so outside the cities, people will set out encampments. And one of the things that they are kind of obsessed with is competition, because they found that the fastest and the strongest are also the best going into the cities to get medicine and bring it back, or go in and get food and supplies and bring them back. And so in their off time, they train and they compete to figure out which teams and which athletes are the best, who then become kind of like the local heroes who are providers for that community.
I would like, if I could I claim the Rails? That's where I would like to be from.
Sure, yeah. I would say first come, first serve. So Jack, if you wish.
Now, unless Michelle would want the Rails, because you're tech muted.
You're muted again, I think.
If it's not one thing, it's another. I actually want one that hasn't been shown off yet, because that'll be helpful for us later.
Okay, cool. So Jack, you can put Hero of the Rails at the top of your character sheet. And then last but not least, maybe Michelle was waiting for this one, the Terminal. It is a futuristic world where information is a resource. A full artificial intelligence has been released into the technology of the Terminal. And this artificial intelligence tampers with it and is not super concerned with human needs, and is kind of reshaping things to its own desires. And so in order for you to make the things you rely on to live work, like your water treatment plant in the place where you live, you have to brave the artificial intelligence's defenses to pull out code, uncorrupted code, and bring it back to let your corner of civilization run. There are some people who live above the Terminal, up in the cloud, in like a hovering city. It's kind of separated. And there are some people who live down on the ground in the ruins of the old, kind of trying to refurbish and repair the technology that exists. And all the time, this artificial intelligence called Zepto is kind of after you, or doesn't care about you, but it doesn't help you live your life at all. Those are the 8 realms. I can go over them again or answer questions if you like. We have Jack, who is going to be a hero of the Rails. And I believe, Zach, you are going to be a hero of the Burrows. Awesome. So then Michelle and Crystal, do you have any questions or anything catch your attention?
I was really excited to be a hero of the Terminal.
You are a hero of the Terminal.
Because I have a character concept in mind that I'm already copying and pasting into the sheet.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Feel free to work ahead. Character creation isn't super complicated. It's just it's your first time. But if you read through the doc and you want to jump ahead and then check your work, we can do that too. All right. So Michelle is a hero of the Terminal. I'm going to add that to my notes.
And then I'm going to be a hero of the Borderlands.
Awesome.
Oh, this is going to be a really interesting team.
And Zach Burrows. All right, so Jack, hero of the Rails. Crystal, hero of the Borderlands. Michelle, hero of the Terminal. Zach, hero of the Burrow. Perfect. I like that we're half anthros too. That's always kind of interesting.
Oh yeah.
When you're an anthro going into a non-anthro realm, there's nice fish out of water stuff that happens there.
Yeah. Also think like Spock having to hide his ears with a wool knit cap.
Yeah, only with horns or wings. All right, so you've chosen the realm for your hero. Normally in the full game, you would get like a playbook based on that realm, but we're using just a cut and paste thing we use for playtests. You can choose your character's name if you wish, using whatever tropes make sense from your setting. Also, branch riders often give each other kind of nicknames that they use based on what you do. Like the way you get nicknames. If you do something stupid, you get a nickname for that. You do something awesome, get a nickname for that, or maybe for where you're from. Next, for your character, and you can come back to this once you have a better idea of the rest of your character if you like. You have what's called the impression, which is just how you look. So at some point, I'll ask you to introduce your character, and you'll give me a version of the impression. What's your look? What's your basic personality? How do you try to come off? If you're an anthro person, you would mention how your features appear. You can kind of think of something along the lines of Zootopia, is what I have in mind for that, except that there isn't as much difference in size. Zootopia, but everybody is a human size of some sort. So you could be like 4 feet tall or 8 feet tall, but some range of human adult. Next is your description, which is you could reveal during the game, but mostly it's notes for you. So you could put personality, you could put what you're carrying, something from your background that's important to you, whatever helps you remember who you're playing, and gives you ideas for them. And that, as I said, may or may not be revealed to the other characters at any given time. Those are straightforward, so we can go back if we need to. Getting into the nuts and bolts of the game. The first, I told you you're going to roll 3 dice, right? Almost all the time. Occasionally you're down a die because things are really bad. But usually you roll 3 dice. The first die that you roll comes from your approach. Approaches take the place of attributes or ability scores in other games. And it's basically how are you approaching the challenge in front of you. And the 5 approaches are creative, forceful, knowledgeable, observant, and social. And the dice that you have to distribute between those approaches, you have 2 d8s, 2 d6s, and a d4. So basically you would put, your d4 in the thing that you struggle with, put your d8s in the 2 things you want to be pretty good at, and then put your d6s in whatever's left over. D4 is kind of a trouble die. D6 is kind of a coin toss die. Could go either way. And then D8 represents you're pretty good at that. And then, of course, over the course of the game, you could raise your D8s to D10s and D12s as you become colossally capable. But right now, we're playing essentially starting characters in terms of power level. But even a starting character in Branch Riders is significant. Like you're like a starting special forces soldier. Like you don't have a ton of experience, you're not an expert at everything, but you're very well trained and you have lots of talents.
You want us to do like a hands up icon reaction when we're finished with our stats?
Yeah. Hands up or wave or whatever when you're finished with approaches. You can also leave some blank and think about it and come back to it. Because how you view your character might change in the next 10 minutes as we go through things.
Good.
Cool. All right, awesome. The next die that you're going to pick up of your 3 is it's gonna be one of 2 things. The first of those is a skill. So your skills are your mundane abilities. You might use a little magic or a little technology to zhuzh them up based on your realm, but these are everyday abilities that anybody could potentially learn. There are 11 skills and there are 10 spots on your skill list. This is intentional. There's going to be 1 skill that you don't have that you're just bad at. And if you're called upon to use that skill, that's one of the situations that you're just going to roll 2 dice. But you'll be okay at most of the other skills. So as you can see, some spaces are X'd out, but there is 1 space at the D10 level, 2 spaces at D8, 3 spaces at D6, and 4 spaces at D4. And you're just going to type your skills into those spaces. Jack, athletics needs to be in your D8 or D10 space because you're from the rails. Crystal, art needs to be in your D10 or D8 spaces because you're from the Borderlands. Michelle, science needs to be in your D10 or D8 spaces because you're from the terminal. And Zach, subtlety needs to be in your D10 or D8 spaces because you are from the boroughs. As you guys came together in the Nexus to train, you find that some of you are just innately really good at things based on where you came from. Zach, yeah.
This is like physical subtlety and sneaking around and not social stuff,
Both.
right?
Both.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's physically sneaking around, it's not being noticed, and it's lying, it's misdirecting. All those things fall under subtlety.
There's a lot of flexibility to the approaches and the skills, and you'll see the creative combinations that can result. So there's a lot of player agency.
So,
yes.
Could you explain weird?
Absolutely. There are 2 that need explaining often, and one of those is weird. So weird is a catch-all that we decided we needed for this system. Weird is a little bit different depending on what realm you're from. It's one of the more realm-dependent skills because each realm has different weird stuff. So for you, Crystal, from the Borderlands, weird for you would be like avant-garde art, performance art, lucid dreaming, visualization, things that you use in your world but are unusual. You could also be like a fortune teller if you wanted to go with the Western trope, that kind of thing. It could be like subtle magic, like you're a card sharp and you make a 5th ace appear in the deck when you need it to. But weird is an expression of the genre of your realm. So for Jack, weird coming from the realms would be like obscure sports and physical abilities, kind of like sideshow stuff, like how to hammer nails through your hand but not bleed. You could also have some information about the feral, about biotechnology, that kind of thing would be your weird. Let's see, Zach from the Burrows, weird for you would be like conspiracy theories and alien involvement and psychic phenomena, things that would occur in a dark and drizzly city that keep people confused and wondering.
Chemtrails, man, chemtrails.
Yeah, any of those sorts of things. And then for Michelle in the terminal, weird would be like alien technology stolen from crashed spaceships, dark matter, dark energy, weird science, that sort of thing. So yeah, weird is a catch-all for just weird stuff.
Yeah. What did we say, Doug? If you ever have that player that does a thing and you're like, I don't know what the heck you're going for here. It's a weird.
Yeah. If I don't know what's happening, I'll ask you to roll creative plus weird, and we'll just see what happens because you're just being strange. But that's also because we only have a few skills. That's also the basket into which all the edge cases fall. In my thinking, right? If I was like, oh, we didn't think of that, it's a really rare event, we're gonna call that weird. The other one that might need explaining is tools, because it's also realm dependent. So for Michelle, your tools are technology. For actually all 4 of you, your tools are a bit technological. I would say Crystal from the Borderlands, you would have more understanding of magic, especially like innate magic, than the others do, because it's part of your life. You're like, of course, I can focus my thoughts and feelings and my intentions and make something happen. That's how my whole world works. And it works a little bit in the other realms too. But like if you were from the Crags, then your tools would be like rune stones and little magic items and scrying lenses and things like
or
that.
even regular things like flint, or because it's technology of any kind. It's kind of like our way of referring to mechanics of a world. So it's the tools within that world.
Yeah, tools are, if you're using a thing the way it's intended, that's tools. Driving a car, flying a plane, using a computer, building a house, tools.
Someone in the chat actually had a really good question.
Oh, cool.
Is weird connected to blight?
That is a good question. Yes, if you were asking a question about the blight, that would fall under weird. So if you have like expertise with the blight, well, no one has expertise with it, probably.
I was gonna say, why?
Yeah, then that is incredibly suspect, and you are in a containment field somewhere. But if you've experienced the blight many times and have looked into it yourself, that would be under weird. Absolutely.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, excellent question, Custom Blink.
And give me a thumbs up when you've got skills in boxes the way you want. Oh, cool. We're good. Great. All right. Next on your character sheet is your purpose, which again, you can fill in at any time now if you like. Your purpose is, the function of the purpose is to write down the most important thing to your character in this scenario, in this situation. And then when that most important thing is at stake, or when that question gets asked and you have to answer, then you can succeed at a single thing without having to roll dice. This is your kind of moment as a player to make sure your character shines and does something cool that you want them to do, because this is the most important thing for them.
Okay, can I give an example? I already have my purpose because obviously I know how it works.
Yeah.
So with my character being from the rails, kind of like a Tony Hawk kind of on steroids kind of a type of thing. My question or my purpose is busting sick tricks really giving me meaning for my life, or is it just ego?
Nice. So and you tell me when this comes up, or if I'm familiar with your purpose, I might mention it. And you kind of, as the player, describe why this moment weighs so heavy for your character, and then we describe a successful use of a skill equivalent, and then you can do that once a session.
What I've pictured for my character is that she's just been a secretary in the Nexus, like handling all like the paperwork part of it and she wants to finally prove that she's good enough to go on missions. So she wants to actually she wants to leave the desk work behind and go on missions.
I am not just a temp. I am permanent.
I am a permanent hire.
So maybe, yeah, your purpose is prove I'm a permanent hire. I love that.
Every time our contract's set to expire, like, yeah, we want to sign you on for another 6 months. Oh,
okay.
Does that come with health insurance this time?
Well, that's negotiable. Talk to HR about that.
Yeah. Talk to Nexus Resources.
Right.
Well, no, because they can't call it human resources.
They can't.
No, because you've got the anthropomorphics. You can't call it human resources. You got to call it Nexus Resources.
It's right. Nexus Resources, perfect.
Love it. We have to add that to the book, Nexus HR.
Yeah, right.
Just put a little MCL next to it that I will write up Nexus Resources and submit it to you.
Nice. Let's see. So we're doing skill questions or purpose questions. We're down to purpose.
Purpose.
Okay. I'm not sure if this would even come up in here. So my concept is that I am gonna go with the Borderlands chef, essentially. But that food is essentially like both a reflection of and also healing for the soul. But what does that mean for all of the other realms? Because it's going to be different.
I think that would cross realms perfectly.
Okay.
Wow.
Right, because I mean, even in our lives, food can be healing for the soul. So in all the realms, that's true. The food might take a different form. Like in the terminal, you're kind of mixing different kinds of protein pastes and like.
Well, you're like Anthony
hydroponic
Bourdain.
greens.
less swearing because we can't do that on the stream.
That is true. That is true.
Right. No, I clicked my switch over to not swearing mode. So
breaking bread.
But yeah, that's a perfect purpose. And I can see that coming up in any scenario, including what I have in mind. As long as you have a moment to cook. Things might happen so fast that you never get a chance to break out the cook set.
I mean, there's a lot of other things that go into cooking too, like discovering new things and new approaches and stuff like that. So it's all research.
Yeah, it's true. It's all ingredients. It's just how you use them.
Love it.
All right. So purpose is there. You can ask questions about it. And like I said, let me know when you're using your purpose in game. And then it'll count as a complete success for whatever it is you're describing happening.
Had another question here, Doug. Someone in the chat asked, can purposes be destructive? Like find the flammability point of everything.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I could say like a mad scientist type character who's just curious for the sake of curiosity.
Yeah.
And so you find a new material and you have to take a moment to set it on fire.
Yeah, I think in general purposes, you're doing a very, very dangerous and strange job. So purpose incorporates, how are you making sense of all this?
Yeah.
Because previously, I don't know if we mentioned, but you don't know the other 8 realms, like the other 7 realms exist. They're totally separate from each other. So, yeah.
Yeah, all of you grew up and your realm was the world. And then you're pulled through a portal into the Nexus and you're introduced to 7 totally different the worlds. And so it's a pretty crazy thing to happen to a person. But yeah, the purpose is something that should be important to the character and therefore also important to the player.
Yeah, they said, does it always have to be helpful? No, there are actually some, as you'll find in the fire, because I don't want to give too much of the game away, right? But there are some folks who don't always agree with the way that the branch riders as an organization handle things. So you might want to disagree that the realms are separated. We should interface. So maybe you want to break down the walls.
Yeah. Yeah, there's more than one faction. We're not getting into that for this scenario, but yeah.
Right, not for this scennario, but to answer the one and only Donnie's question.
Also, a brief look under the hood. Because this game is designed to be a fun role-playing game, it's also designed for therapeutic use. And so this is one of those spots on the character sheet and in character creation where if you are working with a client, and I would be looking very carefully at what the client picks for their character's purpose, because that could reflect all kinds of things in the client's life, in their thinking, where they are. It could be a point of discussion for you and the client later on. Like, we're not going to be doing that, obviously. I'm not a therapist, but
just call me out for my need to be worthy to others. Why don't you? Just call me out. Because Michelle only feels good about herself when she's useful to others.
Yeah, and I will remind everyone here, if you were not aware, on the TheOnyxPath Twitch at 5:30 today, we will be doing like an info discussion panel about the system. So we'll also be answering a lot more system-based questions there, but loving the interaction in the chat, in the feed.
Yeah, keep me I'm not watching chat at all. I'm focusing on other stuff, but I'm happy to pause and answer questions. So anyway, that's a brief look under the hood. Purpose is one of those highlighted points. If you're using this as a clinician or an educator, it'll tell you a lot about who's in the room with you and be a helpful source of information. Or you can create a character who wants to light everything on fire. And that sounds like fun to me. Let's do it. No worries there. All right. So this brings us to our gift. I talked about that second die that you roll out of the 3. The first die is your approach. The second die is either your skill or your gift, depending on if you are relying on your mundane abilities or your special ability. Your gift die for this game is going to be a D8, because that's the default die for a gift. As you improve your character, you can learn new gifts or improve gift dice to get even better at one gift. But you're going to have a D8. And the next step in character creation, once you've chosen your realm and your approaches and all those sorts of things, is you come down to choosing a gift for your character. The gifts are reflections of the realm you come from. They're kind of a piece of home that you bring with you wherever you go into these other worlds. And so, your gift might stand out compared to what's going on around you in a realm, which makes gifts more dangerous to use. They can draw more attention from the blight. They can draw more attention from the people around you, but they're also more powerful than skills. They can do things that skills can't. We have drastically shortened the gift list, which is like 50 or 60 pages in the book, or more, because there's 10 gifts per realm, and then a couple gifts that can go into any realm, kind of meta gifts. We've just tried to make it an easy choice. We've given each of you 2 choices for your gift, based on your realm that you chose. So for the Borderlands, we have a classic for the Western trope, gunslinger, and then we also have storyteller. For the Burrows, we have keen observer is the first gift, and then one with the shadows is the second. Scroll down to the rails. For the rails, we have a boost mixologist for the first one, and then hardcore parkour as the second gift that's available to you.
Which is what I have chosen, of course.
Yeah, I mean, either one would be great.
Yeah.
One of our goals for gifts is for all of them to at least seem cool to us. Like, I'd pick that. And those are 2 that I like. And then for the terminal, you have your options are a hologram box, a little device you carry around, or a support robot.
Bless.
I'm gonna go with the hologram box, but it's she's actually fitted it to a briefcase. She holds
Nice.
So that way then it can sort of blend in with whichever world she has it in. But it's got like a little cutout where the projection can come out.
Nice. I like that a lot. Awesome.
And in the case of emergency, it can be used as a blunt weapon.
Absolutely. Heck yeah, it can.
And like she opens it up, it's got papers and a little box.
Nice. So you can, when you choose a gift, you can copy the name of the gift over to your character sheet, and then just copy and paste the whole description of the gift into the little box underneath gift on your character sheet. That's a table frame, so it'll stretch to include whatever you put into it. And then that can be your reference off your character sheet for the game. As you are selecting gifts, I'll go through the basic rundown of how they're displayed. First is the name of the gift. Then in parentheses is the realm or realms where this gift is most commonly found. Most gifts are from one realm. Some make sense in different realms with slightly different color. Next in italics is just a description of what the gift looks like. If it's an object, if it's an ability, what it looks like when it's used. The next thing is a free ability. So we'll take the hologram box as an example, because that's what I'm looking at. Your free ability is you can entertain yourself or others with stored holographic shows. So the free ability is supposed to be like not as good as a skill, but still interesting and possibly useful. And you can find creative uses for this as you like. After that, the 3 main abilities under the gift are the self, other, and world ability. Normally, the self ability only affects you, and it's the most subtle of the 3. It doesn't draw much attention usually, doesn't risk exposure. The second one, the other ability, will be able to usually affect one other creature or one other object, because the gifts interpret that differently for different gifts, but that's the standard. And then for the world level, it doesn't usually affect the entire world. It affects like the area around you. And some of them might have an impact that does affect the whole world eventually. But it isn't like it rains lightning all over the earth. It's more like it rains lightning in this block, like a city block, or in this large room. And that's your sort of area of effect ability. As a fair warning, if you use your world ability, it's going to increase your exposure to the blight automatically. That's a mechanic we'll get to next. But you want to keep your exposure as low as you can, because as your exposure gets worse, your life gets worse and your mission gets more difficult. So Michelle has a gift. Jack has a gift. Tatum McDanger, do you have a gift selected?
I do have a gift selected.
What did you select?
One with the shadows.
Nice. So as I said, just take, copy the title over and then copy and paste the rest of the text into the little rectangle underneath gift on your character sheet. Should work perfectly. And then Crystal.
Storyteller.
Okay, that makes sense. Though gunslinger would be funny. You're like, yeah, I'm a great cook, and also don't piss me off.
Well, on the trail, you never make Cookie Man.
That's right. That's a good point. Questions about gifts at this stage, if any? Looks like no. Cool.
Maybe brief mention that, I mean, with gifts, the description of how they operate, those are intended as one color or perspective of it. There is creative use for those as well.
Yeah, those are starting points when you're describing what happens to give you an idea of what it looks like, because the gifts are really widely various in terms of how they look, their idiom, their color. But yeah, feel free to adjust aspects of them as you like. All right. Check the character sheet. We're going to skip equipment for now. We'll do that after your briefing, because you might want to choose different things based on where you're being sent and what you think might happen there. Conditions. So let's go to dice first. Normally on the table, in addition to all the character sheets and dice, there'd be a thing called an exposure tracker. And this is something that you, as a branch rider, you wear somewhere on your body, an item that tells you your level of exposure. It's like a Geiger counter type situation where it just shows it runs from green to red, and then the end just has a couple black skulls and an exclamation point. So that's it's like in that range.
So it's very technical. Got it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're from the crags, it might be like a stick that changes color or that burns from one end to the other as it gets worse, whatever. But you have something indicating in world your exposure, specifically your exposure to the blight. This is how aware the blight is of you, ranging from 1 to 10. 10 is disastrous. Every shred of blight energy in the entire realm is focused on you right now. 1 is background radiation. Nothing has noticed you yet, but the blight is still present somewhere. As your exposure goes up, the third die that you roll, I mentioned the first one is approach, the second one is skill or gift, the third one is the situation die. As your exposure goes up, your situation die gets worse. So at the very beginning, if things are going perfectly well, you have a D10 exposure die. And at the very end, if things are going very badly, you have a D4 exposure die. And the reason a D4 is a bad die is because when you roll your dice, you're looking for 4s. Everything 4 or higher is a success. Everything 3 or lower is a failure on your dice. So obviously a D4 is not a lot of help. A D6 is a coin toss, and a D8 you start getting into likely to succeed numbers. So rolling those 3 dice, you're looking for 4s, and you're going to get some number of successes between 0 and 3. 3 successes is you did fantastic. Not only do you get what you wanted, but something extra goes well for you also. So the situation gets better, you get an advantage, you grant an advantage to an ally. It's like a critical hit. 2 successes means you did what you wanted. Well done. You got it. 1 success, you have to make a hard choice. For one success, either you're going to succeed, but the situation gets worse for everyone, or you're going to fail, but you're going to get some consolation in failure. You're going to fail forward in some way. And you, as the player, get to pick which of those you want when you roll one success. And then 0 successes, not only did you not get what you wanted, but things also get worse. So it's like no, and also things go worse for you. So that is the dice system. And we needed to hear that before we talk about conditions. This game doesn't have hit points or energy points or whatever to track things. It just uses a system of conditions. And conditions do one of two things. Basic conditions make you roll a d4 situation die, regardless of where your exposure is in a certain situation. So if you hurt your arm and you're trying to use your arm, you roll a d4 situation die when you're using that arm. So it's a little disadvantage, not crippling. Advanced conditions make a particular action just impossible. You can't even. And there are different ways to do that. But it defines the action that is impossible, so you could do anything else. But you can't do that. Whatever that was, you can't do that anymore. Until a friend comes and helps you and fixes the condition, addresses it, or you have time to rest, you can work on yourself, or you use a special ability like some gifts let you remove conditions very, very quickly, supernaturally, or impose conditions supernaturally too. The conditions, just so you know, the basic ones are hurt, gripped, hurt, weakened, hesitant, isolated, and provoked. And when those happen, I'll explain exactly how they look, because all those are interpreted based on what's happening in the game. So different kinds of hurt could be emotional, could be physical, what happened, and they're defined when they are taken. And then your advance each has an advanced condition paired with it. So gripped becomes immobile, hurt becomes wounded, weakened becomes depleted, hesitant becomes repelled, isolated becomes alienated, and provoked becomes reckless. And each of those advanced conditions put something on the list that's just off the table. So for example, if you're reckless, you cannot avoid this situation. You can't run away, you can't ignore it, you are dragged into this no matter what else you do. If you're immobile, obviously you can't move away. You're stuck, you're grappled, you're pinned, whatever. And as I said, as those come up, we'll talk about them. And then if you get too many advanced conditions, you'll be taken out. And we'll deal with that when it happens. So those are conditions. I just have the condition table in there, the name and the effect. You can write those in for your own reference if it's helpful. The other side of conditions are edges. Edges are advantages that you get in the game. An edge can protect you from one condition. An edge can also be passed between characters. So, for example, the 3 edges are encouraged, prepared, and strengthened. Actually, I think energized is what that was supposed to be. Yeah. Well, anyway, we use encouraged for now. So obviously, you can give someone encouraged as an edge, and that will help them later on resist a condition. If you take time to prepare, you can have the prepared edge. And if something strengthens or energizes you, you can have the strengthened edge. So basically, an edge is condition armor. So if you have encouraged and someone tries to hit you with a condition that would be resisted by encouraged, the condition bounces off and you discard encouraged. On the table game, these would be cards. Yellow cards for basic conditions, red cards for advanced, green cards for edges. In game, we'll just describe it happening because we're on Zoom.
And if you take, you're only permitted to take up to 2 advanced conditions.
Yeah, 2 advanced conditions means you're taken out. You're not out of the game forever, but you can't do anything right now except kind of crawl around. You can still talk, but you can't do anything that will require a dice roll. is basically how that works. Until a friend comes and helps you or a condition fades, etc. And like if you take 2 basic conditions, they'll upgrade to an advanced condition. They kind of work that way. So conditions and edges. Background and notes, obviously that's for you. Whatever you want to write in there is welcome. Okay, we covered exposure. We covered how dice work at a basic level. We covered conditions. Any questions about character creation? Because this will be our first break coming up, I think. If that works for everybody. Cool. Because I need to refresh my drink, stand up for a minute, strategize a little bit based on what you guys picked. And then after this, we'll jump into kind of scene 1 of our scenario. And going forward, questions are welcome. I know everyone but Jack is new to the game. So if we would pause and ask, you can do that 10 times. We're not going to get impatient or anything. So we're good for break.
Yep.
All right, let's call it 5 minutes. And be back in 5 minutes. Cool.
Right.
Thank you, 5.
Awesome.
All right.
welcome back to those who are watching, and welcome back to those who have been drinking and munching and prepping in other ways as you choose. So we had 5 minutes of break. Anybody have any question about what we've gone through so far? As I said, they're always welcome, but I thought I'd take a moment. All right. So, last thing to cover is equipment, and we'll get to it shortly. But first, we're going to do kind of introduce the mission. So the 4 of you are in the Nexus, and Data, this is your first assignment. So you don't know who you're going to be teamed up with. You're like watching updates to find out, thinking like, oh, I hope I don't get scribbly guy that I can't stand, or, writes in all caps and uses 2 lines per letter. Seems like the personality would mix. But you're waiting for your update. The other 3 of you, I'm thinking, have worked together before. Crystal, what is your character's name, real quick?
So my character's name is Shay Corda.
All right, excellent.
So she just goes by Shay.
Okay. All right, so Taps, Shay, and Tatum, you have worked before as a team, but something terrible happened in your last mission. It wasn't successful, and you left someone behind in a part of the realm that was just going, everything that could go wrong went wrong. And normally it's, don't leave anyone behind, but the choice was either bail out of this part of the realm or watch it collapse. And so you've been given a long time to recover from this, like mentally, psychologically. You've had some counseling, some R&R, and each of you have kind of indicated separately that you're ready for another mission. And there's kind of an understanding that it won't be another thing that's likely to get entirely out of control the way your last one did, because the 3 of you aren't experienced. This will be like your 3rd mission, maybe, the one coming up, and they've tried to give you time to recover, but you are down a member, and so you also know you'll be assigned a new member for this mission, and you're kind of wondering probably who that will be. But all 4 of you in your various places in the Nexus get an update that you are being summoned to the ready room for briefing on your next mission. For picturing the Nexus from the inside, no one has seen the outside of the Nexus, incidentally, but you live inside the Nexus, and picture it's sort of like a space station, vaguely cylindrical. It's also sort of like living inside the bowl of a tree, of a hollowed out tree. It's a crossover between those 2 sensations. But inside the Nexus, all your food's grown, your air is recycled. There are only maybe a few hundred, maybe 1,000 people that live here in total. Many of those people are not branch riders. Some of them are the children and grandchildren of branch riders who have retired. Some of them might be refugees from particularly horrific situations. But there's only about 100 branch riders at any given time working in all 8 realms. So you're a rare commodity, and they do all they can to kind of support you in your work and help you succeed. So the 4 of you are summoned separately to the ready room. And the way this usually happens is you go there, and then you will get a briefing from an officer in the Nexus, usually a guy named Captain Inorvik, who's also one of your trainers back in the day. So Taps, what are you in the middle of doing when the summons comes?
I am actually in the middle of kind of upgrading my surreptitious safety gear. Pads are important. So it's to me, it's always about making sure to stitch it up to make sure that it's, the kind of gear I can wear to keep myself safe in case of any kind of fall. Kind of like also trying to, tweak it a little bit to
Always.
make sure that, just always got to make sure. And on my gear, I have like some stickers from some of the heaters from the rails, some of the folks who used to help on like supply runs that I went with. So
You touch
Every
those for
now,
luck.
yep,
Yeah.
pretty much. It's my little sports luck ritual that I do before a mission. So I pad up before heading over to the room.
Awesome.
And
Shay,
I'm
oh, go
called
ahead.
Taps, by the way, because every time that I'm engaged in any kind of theatrics or whatever, I'm always making sure to double tap whatever I leap from or towards. It's kind of like my signature.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always just tap tap. So
Nice.
that's why they call me Taps. And
Awesome.
do you want a description physically?
We'll do that next.
Gotcha.
Shay, what are you in the middle of doing when this summons alert lights up? And you are muted at the moment.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay. So, what she'd probably be doing is working in, she would probably be working in writing up, maybe like a culture or like a culinary narrative of her last adventure, in this big leather bound recipe book that she has. That's written very similar to like the recipe blogs where you have like this whole story narrative and then you have like this little bit of a recipe, except her recipes also go like a long way too, so she fills up quite a lot of these books very quickly on the stuff that she does.
I imagine if you share these, there's like probably a printing press. These are probably snapped up by other foodies in the Nexus.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it isn't like, there's not that many good chefs in the Nexus. Like
she is probably going to be considered one of the very first food vloggers of the Nexus realms.
100%. Yeah. One of the first or the first. I would say the first. All right, Tatum, what are you in the middle of doing when this summons lights up or when the summons comes?
Tatum's going through notes on old investigations, looking for things that he missed.
Nice. That fits. All right, yeah. So the summons pulls you out of going through, like, I'm picturing those folder boxes stacked up in the corner of an office or something. You're kind of leafing through and laying them out on the desk and on the floor and what didn't I see? And Data, what are you in the middle of doing when this summons lights up?
She is hard at work writing up whatever reports get put onto her desk for archive. So if people put folders of their write-ups of their missions on her desk and just she types them up and then shreds the physical ones. And she has like stacks of folders in her done pile to be shredded. And a small stack of her inbox because she's constantly working. She's always a few steps away from the copier to make copies or coffee to make coffees.
Nice.
She's hard at work.
So Data, you are it happens. It's flashing. Oh my gosh. So you have this wonderful opportunity. So often in your life, other people dump their work on your desk, but now you're being summoned to be a branch rider, and you get to choose a coworker on whose desk you will dump your work. So what coworker gets this honor or insult, depending on how they take it?
You know, this is probably just a mistake. I'll leave it on my desk and I'll pick it up later when they tell me that this is a mistake.
It's good. Yeah, good way to go. Yeah. So
they probably just want me to record the briefing meeting.
Right.
That's the data meister making copies.
So you leave your work clothes on, grab your travel mug, and head up the stock to the and your briefcase, of course, and head up to the briefing room. As the four of you enter at approximately the same time, there is one other individual in the briefing room. Picture it kind of like a bit like a classroom, chairs facing forward, a desk or maybe a podium, and then behind them like a chalkboard and a dry erase board and some maps layered over it. Some of the detritus from other missions is kind of like pushed to the side from other briefings because you guys all have high clearance. So not many things are secret from you. And Captain Inorvik is there in the room. He's someone you know from training. He is kind of the head of operations for the Nexus. He's from the chain. He still wears a modified Imperium uniform. He still has his insignia of his status, even though he's no longer a member of the Imperium, obviously. It's just the way that he likes to dress. Kept his rank, even though they don't have captain ranks in the Nexus. People, call him Captain Inorvik because he asked them to, out of respect, or they don't, and as an insult. And he's laying out some papers, and behind him is a map has been unrolled, and he's relatively quiet as the four of you come in, just kind of setting up the last little bits of what he's going to present. So Data, as the four of you see each other, Data, you're the one that stands out in the moment, so describe yourself.
So setting up her briefcase on a tripod so she can record this briefing, because that's obviously why she's here.
Right, that makes sense.
Is a woman who appears to be in her early 20s, who has long black hair tied in a ponytail. She's wearing a white work blouse that is crisp with little ruffles on it, a black skirt, Nexus resource issued uniform for all desk work.
Yes.
But she has a little bit of uniqueness. She has black gloves that cover her hands, especially when she's touching documents. She doesn't know what's been where.
Yeah.
Except there's like a small little like hole carved in the top of it, sort of giving it a little bit of uniqueness. She's got the black thigh highs, black boots. They have a slight heel because the clack clack noise on the floor.
It sounds official. Yeah.
And because she's from Terminal, the only like thing that would make her stand out as someone who's not from like a Earth-like humanoid is that she has, and I'm stealing from one of my favorite video games that I've never played. She has an LED circle on her temple that may or may not be connected to the very high weird stat she has.
Nice. Perfect.
Nice.
So Shay, Tatum, and Taps, the three of you recognize each other, and you notice this looks like a functionary who's setting up to record. So maybe you're just going in with 3 instead of 4. Maybe they didn't find you a replacement. Tatum, describe yourself to your allies to remind them, and also to Data because she might not have seen you around.
When going out on missions, Tatum is always wearing a dark brown trench coat. The fedora is to blend in. It does not distract from the fact that this 5'6" bull of a person has horns that put his height up to 6 feet.
Nice. Shay, describe yourself to the other 3.
So Shay is a taller woman. She has her hair pulled back very tight, into a very neat bun. She is wearing an executive chef's jacket that is also the Nexus uniform,
Nice.
as well as black slacks and shoes that are very comfortable to be able to work in her kitchen with.
Awesome. The
Nice.
equivalent of non-slip Skechers.
Yes.
All right, Taps, describe yourself to the other 3.
So Taps has a lot of fox features, mostly kind of tipped ears, and he has kind of like it looks almost like he spent too much time in the tanning bed, so he has kind of like an orange reddish skin tone to him. He's dressed very casual, like not like ripped t-shirt and jeans casual, but he's just wearing some very comfortable slacks that are like they're cargo pants with like multiple different pockets that they're a little billowy, think like 90s skater kind of attire, and he has little bulbs like around the knees and also around the elbows, so you can tell he's wearing his typical pads. He also has a headband that bears the insignia of Jam Stadium, which is the primary area of of the rails, so he never forgets where he's from.
If those of you who know Taps know that's a big deal to him, and if you've never been to the rails, you don't know what it's referring to. All right. So once the three of you are all in, Captain Rovik kind of looks up, sees that you're there, shuffles papers one last time, and says, "Thank you for coming so promptly. Data, what are you doing?"
Recording the briefing like you have me do every time.
Oh, no, no. You have been assigned to this branch rider team. So, you don't need to be recording this meeting. You are going to be here for the briefing. So come, hurry. As is often the case in these situations, time is
Okay.
of the essence.
Okay.
So, Tatum, Shay, Teps, Data is going to be your new fourth team member.
Actually, I do have a name.
Oh.
It's it doesn't matter at this point. Just call me Dave.
Well, please, what is your name? I will, however you prefer to be. I know many branch riders have handles that they go by. Some go by as a given name.
Oh, Data's just easier to pronounce.
Oh, very well. Excellent. So, Data. This is Tatum, Shay, and Teps. They are going to be your new team. Teps, Shay, and Tatum. Data is your new team member. I'll give you time to go through the niceties on your own. In the meantime, we have a mission for you. So, as you can see behind me, there's a map of the chain, and you see behind him there's it's like a sort of almost the part of the map that's written out is almost an sort of a vertical oval. You can see a long archipelago of islands coming down the middle. And then most of the larger islands are in the center, almost like sort of a spine to the archipelago, and then it spreads out from there. And there are some markings about weather events and tides and winds and that kind of thing. It looks looks like very hand drawn. Like people have come back from missions and added little notes to it. And then the edge of this map is this kind of like swirling, evocative cloud or fog that's kind of like a literal fog of war around the edges of it. And then a few islands are marked at the edge of this fog. And then there's some markings in the fog about things that are suspected to be out there. Basic knowledge. Well, I'll go through character. As you know from your training, because none of you are local to the chain. It is a series of islands, an island chain surrounded by a mist or a fog. Out of the fog, sometimes there come islands. Sometimes islands are swallowed up once again. And so whenever this happens, there's a race for resources to claim the territory between the Imperium and the various rebellion organizations. Based on our long-distance telemetry, we've been able to determine that one of these islands has recently been uncovered, and we suspect, based on activity at that island, that the Imperium has reached it first, and they've done so with great alacrity, much more quickly than normal. And so, based on this, we suspect that there's something on this island that is very important to the Imperium for them to take control of. So, your mission is, let's say, threefold. First, to identify whatever it is the Imperium has found on this island. What do they think it is? What is it actually? Second, to get whatever that is away from them by whatever means you're able to, because as a general principle, whatever the Imperium desperately wants is something that they should not have. And third, to ensure that there is not opportunity to alert the rest of the Imperium in the short term as to what has happened. Yes, Teps.
Yeah, real quick question here, Cap. So, do I have permission to break whatever it is that we're supposed to be finding here then?
I will say this: I wouldn't recommend it going in as a default.
Oh,
But based on your situation, your assessment of the situation, you may decide that denying access to it, the best way to do that is to break it. Um, the
so
cost
so
there
that's
is
not a no.
that is not the no tabs, but I want you to explore and be open to other options of what might happen with this object. For example, you might break it, and that is what it takes to activate a self-destruct system that detonates the island. Or you might break it and release a torrent of blight energy into the world that was chained up. Or you might break it and cause harm to bystanders, etc. It's something to consider. The ideal would be if you determine this item can be brought to the Nexus for study, uh, and it would be valuable to us, that would be ideal. But it is also important that the Imperium is denied whatever this is.
So it's like the cyanide caps that I in one of my teeth. I only break it if I need to, as a last resort.
You know,
We only-
we've had this discussion with health services. You really don't need to have a cyanide capsule. It's not standard issue, and you know, it's. I would think that chewing like a jawbreaker or something crunchy would fill you with anxiety that you might accidentally shatter your cyanide tooth and die. Of course, it is your choice to carry it. We're not. There's no policy.
There's a reason I eat a lot of salads. Okay.
Understood. As I said, we can have this conversation at another time. But truly, I will, care for your health and your well-being as much as you can. Other questions not related to vandalism or suicide.
Well, the chains where you're from, right?
That is correct. Yes. He slightly stands at attention. Just not full on, but his spine straightens slightly when he answers.
So, are there any other considerations that we need to make just so we don't like blow our cover or anything like that? I mean, you know this, but I've never been to the chain.
Yes, understood. Will you be able to requisition disguises if that is something that you choose tactically you're going to focus upon? Also, from your training, you will hopefully recall that the Imperium utilizes blight technology, and so they're going to have surprising capabilities, unusual weapons not indicated by the local level of technology. And there's something to be aware of. I have not been back in my home in many years, and so I assume blight technology has advanced since I was last there. So, but that is the primary danger I think you'll encounter is that blight technology.
So with the chain and stuff like that, you said archipelago. Is this a like a marine area?
You'll be on the surface of an island.
Okay.
Looks like the place will be able to. The closest place we can connect to is on the eastern side of the island, right on the coast.
Okay. What is like the flora and fauna of that area?
It is a warm, temperate salt marsh. So you've
Okay.
got, I believe, possibly mangroves, coastal seagrass, sandy soil, that sort of thing.
Maybe you could do us up a little clam bake, Shay.
That's what
Oh
I'm
yes,
thinking.
I imagine the clams would be plentiful.
Clams or crawfish?
That would be a wonderful way to celebrate the successful completion of this mission. He says, pulling things back on track or trying to.
So as usual, we don't have a whole ton of intel to go in with, but
as you know, you are the best source of intel.
Do we have any contacts?
I don't have any in particular because we are aware of Imperium activity on this island, but we don't know specifics. Who is there? Who is not? You might be able to build a contact once you're there. Some have that capability. Some use other methods. Speaking of which, you're going to wish to requisition some of your special gear, and so if there are no further questions, I can send you along to the quartermaster.
Turns around to Data. So don't be nervous, newbie. You're with an experienced group of people. We'll make it nice and easy for you.
Read your paperwork. So I have a somewhat of an understanding of what I am getting into. We'll have to requisition that using that form. I'll handle the requisition paperwork for any sort of regional. What's the word I'm looking for? Regional
Data.
variety.
You don't have to do that because other people do that for us. You focus on the mission.
We
Right.
do the action. They get in traction doing the paperwork. It'll be okay.
Right. Very well then.
As the four of you are talking, since you seemed like you were done, he's walking you over to a transport to take you to the quartermaster. As you're talking.
Cool. But yeah, Data did take as many pictures of all of the things that he had brought to the briefing. She just went,
oh, totally. Yeah, your box will just take like a scan of the whole room, everyone in it, all the things on the wall. Yeah.
So as we go down to the quartermaster and everything like that, Shay is gonna like see Data as like this new like line chef or short order cook for her, and like start like mentoring her as to the, okay, you're going to want to stand here, this is what you're going to need, this is what you're going to want to put, here's how you're going to want to pack it, because otherwise it's not going to be efficient enough. Like really helping her kind of understand the whole dynamics as if it's a kitchen.
Meanwhile, Data is trying her best not to fangirl because she has made so many photocopies of Shay's recipes. And so she's like trying to act like aloof, and she's just like, understood. Affirmative.
No, it's yes, chef.
Yeah, it's like, just be careful, Shay, not to rename her Sue.
Well, my name is not Sue. My name is well, everyone just calls me Data because 0101001101010.
Oh, that was a bad
It was a joke. It was a joke.
Sous chef.
Sous chef.
Oh, like sous chef, not in the designation of one from different realms called SUE.
But hey, if she'd rename you Sue, then it's just like you're part of the team. You know what I mean?
Captain Aerovic nods and said, yes, the best jokes are ones you have to explain. Please, onto the transport.
Thanks, Cap, as always.
He nods and heads back. And you guys are transported to the quartermaster. She is a little pixie. I'm gesturing with my hands that you can't see. About a foot and a half tall. Continual buzz of wings holding her in the air like a hummingbird. And as you come in, she is assembling some sort of object, and she's just kind of waving her hands, and there's like sparkles of fairy dust swirling around, and then she's using like telekinesis or something to assemble this object that is many times larger than she is. Like, standard issues over there, and then any special requisitions behind me. You know the drill.
No, I don't.
She kind of looks over her shoulder at somebody to talk back. Oh, you knew?
No, I work for Nexus Resources.
Oh.
But they put me here today.
Oh. They brought her up to the majors, Goss.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm Gossamer, and I am the quartermaster. So over there, you have any materials you take standard to help you do the things you need to do, and then back behind this gate is the special stuff. And as I understand it, each of you has a couple of those you could requisition as well. Let me know what you need. I'm gonna keep working on this if you don't mind.
They're the reason why the requisition paperwork always goes to the newest person. There's so much glitter.
It's so much glitter. And it's like shimmering colors, changes size randomly. So part of this is just you have all of the equipment you would need to use your skills. So like if you have a fighting skill, you have a weapon. If you have basic stuff. If you have the tool skill, you have a toolkit. So unless something happens to deprive you of the stuff you carry, assume you have basic equipment to do things your skills say. And then on the document that I sent out, that I see you're all in. Under equipment, there's a list of sample equipment for each realm, and this is kind of the special stuff you can requisition. You have enough credit with the Nexus to requisition 2 pieces of equipment. And the way equipment works in terms of mechanics is very much like an old school dungeon crawler. Equipment lets you solve a problem without rolling dice. So if you can figure out how to use a thing to overcome a challenge, you don't have to roll for it. It just happens. One exception to this is some equipment is just armor. And when you have armor, you start the game with the edge strengthened. So you already have an edge built in. And once that edge is used, if you have a chance to repair your armor, you can get back strengthened.
Procedural question. I describe myself as having safety gear. Is that automatically then count as one of my 2 pieces of equipment?
If you want that to count as armor, yes. Otherwise, no, it's just color. It's just like
flavor.
Okay.
Yeah, I have pads and a helmet and gloves with, reinforcement on them. So that could be armor, and that could be one of the things you pick. Or it could just be you're looking cool.
Yeah, I'm going to take it as part of my official equipment, and I'm going to give myself then, with your permission, the strengthened edge.
100%. Yep.
I'm going to take the light absorbing stealth suit because it sounded like stealth is an essential part of this mission.
Mm-hmm.
But also the 3D holographic map because I don't like getting lost.
Nice. So yeah, they have it's an ongoing mapper. So as you go through places, it will map in more detail where
it's
you've
Breath
been.
of the Wild rules. Okay, got it.
But it also has a basic map of where you're going. So it shows you like the coastline. It shows you there's like a flashing X where the center of blight activity seems to be. There's topographic information. And then as you kind of explore, it'll add in detail that it gets.
Shit.
Okay, so one of the things that Shay would probably do is like take any sort of local reference documentation for the flora and fauna because there is some stuff you shouldn't be touching or eating.
Okay, yeah.
So
you can either have that happen under a survival roll,
okay,
or you can take equipment. Depending if you don't want to roll dice, you can just take a guide to the plants, flora, and fauna of the chain.
If there is something like that available, she would have it.
100%. It's handwritten.
Okay.
It's like from someone who grew up there and knew a lot about that stuff and just wrote a book.
And then the other thing that she does is she does take like her prep stuff, like preserving salts and stuff like that. Is there any sort of like cooling devices so that if she does collect some specimens, she can keep them frozen or cold?
100%. It's not from your realm, but it is like a chest from a video game, and then you open it up, and there's like cool fog smokes out of it, and there's like a frozen compartment and a refrigeration compartment.
Awesome.
And like a rack for condiments. This is like something from the Crags, maybe. But you can requisition that. They're like, I think I have what you need.
And then she also brings spices because someone is going to have to cook. However, there are like very specific spices that she makes sure she has, and those are the ones that can be weaponized, like cayenne pepper.
All right, sounds good. Awesome. Just note that stuff down on your character sheet for your reference. Cool. And when equipment comes up, just tell me I'm using this, and we'll figure out how it works in the game.
Cool.
So equipment is stuff that like they don't need to roll, or is it like so like Tatum's
Almost,
gonna probably grab like the magnifying like the fingerprint kit
yeah,
and like a lockpick kit, but he
yeah.
would still roll if I don't say those, or I was like,
So you would roll something like observant plus subtlety to pick a lock. That would make sense because you want to be
yep,
careful and delicate. If you have a lock picking kit, then you just pick locks.
okay,
You don't have to roll because you prepared. So you just pop the lock and keep going.
all right,
So some of the stuff like that Data would have on her that she would just normally have like standard issue like stuff that she'd have in a briefcase, like standard issue items.
Mhm.
Is there like a list of stuff that is like that isn't the specific stuff like the map and the suit? So like I put weird as my D10 stat, and I wanted that to
Nice.
be related to the fact that she has technology implanted in her from Terminal.
Totally.
Um, but there's also so like communication would assume that she would have like a walkie-talkie or something like that. Or I'm trying to figure out how like this inventory related to skills works.
So comms would be something that you need to pick as one of your two pieces of inventory.
Okay.
And then incidental stuff, like you can describe when you use a skill, you can describe what that skill looks like using anything reasonable.
Okay, as long as
Right.
it's like not anything that could work over a long distance or
Right.
okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So if you want like a sniper rifle, that's equipment. But
Yeah.
if you have the fighting skill, you've got a gun or a knife or a stick or whatever.
I was gonna say a bullet.
Yeah, just one bullet.
One bullet.
And I throw it really hard. So hard. Yeah.
Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah, sure thing. It is kind of
Okay.
a gray area. But yeah, the equipment is something special, and then everything else is color, how you decide to describe what your character is using and how they do what they do. So for example, if you could roll maybe social plus weird to try to read someone's mind using their micro expressions by activating your implanted technology. That's just whatever you're because you're using a dice roll, so you know how that looks is
Okay.
it's
Thank
up
you
to
very
you.
much.
Yeah,
all right. So I'm going with official looking ID, lock picking kit
nice.
for the special gear.
Yeah, so you look like you belong. You have Imperium insignia, a bit of a uniform, and paperwork. If they demand your papers, you have paperwork.
I have road flares and safety gear.
Nice. And your safety gear is your armor.
Yep.
Cool. And road flares are just road flares. Who knows what you're gonna do with them? Some equipment's obvious, some is just interesting to throw into the mix. All right, does everyone have two pieces of equipment? And if you have any equipment questions, now's a good time. All right, so you are shuffled on from the quartermaster up to the portal room where there is a whole bunch of magical and occult and technological gear just thrumming and vibrating and sparking and pulsing all around you. There are like lights coming from some of them and sounds coming from some. And there's clear places where like a magic crystal is plugged into a flat screen monitor. And this is a place where all the different techniques and technologies of the Nexus come together to build this portal, which is a huge circular opening in the middle of the room. Right now, it's a ring that's kind of sparking with electricity, and then as it powers up, there is a deep thrumming sound and crackling sounds and a little bit of laughter over on the side that always kind of creeps you out. And in the center of this semicircular desk is this large woman, coiffed purple hair, and she is working frantically with her two human hands and with four tentacles that reach out from her torso. They're also purple and they kind of slide and pull levers and push buttons and touch pads and turn dials as she's kind of zeroing in on your destination. And the portal kind of flickers and ripples, and then you are looking out onto a coastal salt marsh. There is it's shadowy on the left of the picture and bright and sunny on the right side of the picture. Um, and she spins around in her chair while still working. All right, you ready to go?
All right, Dolores, I guess it's time to glean that cube.
She one of her tentacles comes up and kind of squishes out sort of a thumb, and then goes back to what it was doing.
I just jump and dive through when it's ready.
Cool.
Just no hesitation.
Yep. Taps his woomph, and he's through. And you can see him splash into the ankle deep salt water and kind of look around and walk out of the screen.
Shay would probably just walk in.
Yep. Maybe a deep breath because the last one didn't go so well.
Yeah.
Phantom just steps through,
leaving
around.
Data by herself.
Data looks at the salt water, looks at her shoes, unzips her boots, takes off her socks, folds them over her arm, and then walks through.
Nice. Splash, splash. All right, the four of you go through, and it is it's a warm, kind of temperate, summery day, probably somewhere in the 80s. There are marsh animal sounds all around you. There is a breeze coming from your right. You have you have a compass in your exposure meter built in. You can see that you're looking north right now as you come through the portal. To your right, bright blue skies, sunny day, warm, not quite tropical, but like northern California or northern North Carolina coast. Salt marsh beneath you, and then to your left, somewhat alarmingly, is this roiling, towering, looming wall of fog. It is not natural looking fog. It like tendrils and pseudopods reach out for hundreds of feet out of it and then coil back in. It billows in breezes that none of the rest of you see. And there's still some fog lingering in hollows and low parts of the ground here as well. Nice. And you can see, based on your briefing, that this island that you're on looks very recently revealed by the fog, that it's retreated and uncovered at least part of this island. You can't see, you're on the eastern edge of the island, so looking west toward the fog, you can't see the other side of the island over there.
Checking my tracker, what's our
Mhm.
current exposure level?
Your exposure level currently is a 3. So that means if you want to note, your situation die is a D8 once we get to rolling dice. So on your tracker, it's at the edge between green and yellow is where the needle is, but it's on the green.
I'm pulling up my map.
Yep. So on your map, your little dot that's filled in some greenery around you is almost directly south of the flashing red X that is the main source of local blight energy. It's estimating about a half-mile trek through this salt marsh will get you to whatever that is. On your map, you see an indication of like some at least one gray blur right at the coast. It could be a ship, and then another smudge perhaps. And then there is a gray line leading west into the island's interior. Trees cleared to either side of it, and that's all. That's all the detail you have at the moment, and that's all north of you.
It looks like there is potentially a ship on the coast. That's probably company. And we've got about a half-mile trek to our destination.
Time's a wasting.
All right, let's go.
All right. You guys make your way roughly northwards with your compasses. Not that big a deal. And it's very clear the sun is on the right side the fog is on the left. If the fog's on the left, you're going roughly north. Directionally, not a challenge at the moment. And the wind is also out of the east, thankfully. Presumably, that's what part of what's holding the fog back at the moment. But you trek up out of the lower lying bits of the salt marsh and into kind of a wetland forest, mostly short trees, plenty of mud to experience, low fronds, that kind of thing. And probably none of the four of you are super used to being out in nature. Maybe Shay most of all, because you kind of grew up with a literally wild and untamed wilderness right outside. But it was very different. It's more kind of dry, deserty where you're from. This is very wet, humid. There are some bugs that have discovered that you're here. And as you trek north, you also hear noises carried down on the breeze. You hear faint shouts, kind of like not like shouts for help, but like people just speaking loudly to each other. As you get closer, you hear the thrumming of at least one large engine. You can see and smell some dark smoke coiling up into the sky and then hitting the wind and being blown westward. And you see some wildlife around you. At one point, you see this brilliant, almost pearlescent white parrot that just kind of flaps in the distance from one tall tree to another, and then it sort of describes a wide arc heading northward. How close are you getting? What's your approach plan? What's your
I would like to try to look at whatever, because we know the Imperium's involved.
Right.
So I would like to try to ascertain, like, do they have like a battalion? Do they have just like a small grouping? Like, what's the staffing situation for the Imperium? So
as you're marching north, you catch glimpses through the trees of like a person walking in the distance, flashes of light off of metal, the shouts, the sounds in general. So as you go forward, Taps, you can roll observant plus fighting.
Observant plus fighting.
And then you're going to roll the D8 for your situation. And this is you just getting a sense of what you're in for.
Yep. So I'm rolling 2 D8s and a D4.
First roll of the game. The first roll of the game. The first roll of the game.
The dice have finally landed.
All right. That is 2 successes.
Okay. So you find out, you can discern there's maybe a half dozen people who are in various forms of command. Like not, generals, but like people who are telling other people what to do. And then for each one of them, there's 4 or 5, just kind of maybe sailors, maybe laborers, running around and doing what they're told. There is definitely one person high up on a platform that's been built to load things onto a relatively large cargo ship. You can see glimpses of through the trees as you progress. That person seems to be in charge of the whole deal. He has the best stature, the most shinies on his chest, little epaulets that other people don't have epaulets or theirs aren't colored. So some kind of ranking officer. And occasionally one of the under officers will come up to him and ask a question and then go back and shout whatever his answer was to the laborers.
Doesn't look like a whole heavy lot of brass. Definitely a lot of grunts. I don't like the look of that ship. I think I'm going to have to break it.
As you get closer, and I picture you kind of like creeping and moving from tree to tree and staying low. As you get closer, you also see Taps and what looks like an automaton. It has a brassy body, flat, featureless face with like maybe a couple eye slits and a mouth slit, but otherwise almost mirror finish. And it is standing on the edge of the ship, just kind of gazing out over what's happening. So in that with that unnatural stillness of a machine with no impetus to go anywhere.
All right, so what's our plan?
Well, I think that I don't know.
I think we need to gather some information before we make a decision.
That's
Well,
just crude robot building.
Well, the Imperium works pretty quick, so we don't have a whole lot of time for a pre-game warm-up.
No, but we also have enough time, I think, to be able to make a at least somewhat informed determination of things.
I'd like to check what they're loading onto the ship.
How about you go do that? Someone needs to figure out what's going on with the robot. And then maybe we try to figure out something. What else is going on? What other things do we see?
Can we tell what they're harvesting from?
Yeah, what are they harvest? Yeah, like I would like to figure out what they're harvesting.
Okay. So Tatum, since you asked first, you can roll observant plus tools. Just to get a sense of like, all right, what are they doing? Like what is the job? We know who's doing the job, but what are they doing?
And then it's a D8 for the situation.
Correct.
So,
yep.
Okay.
Your situation's still about as good as it gets on these missions, actually.
That is 3 successes.
Woo!
Awesome. So what they're doing is they are laboriously dragging something large and enclosed from the west. So you're facing north. Off to your left, there is like a big steam engine machine that's like trudging and trundling and grinding along this path. And it is dragging a large case, maybe 10 feet by 12 feet. So rectangular, 10 feet high, 12 feet long, not sure how wide. The case, it's covered with some foliage and some dirt and mud. It looks like it was excavated not that long ago. And it's on this groaning sort of sled with little heavy wheels being dragged basically across some sand and cleared land that they chopped down trees not that long ago. And then there's a big heavy engine dragging it. So whatever's in there is very big. And that's just slowly making its way down toward the ship. And then otherwise, you have teams who are going out and they found fresh water. So they're refilling barrels of water and rolling them back. Another team is out foraging. And so they're coming back with like some creatures they've killed and food that they've gathered. Mostly just kind of sailor procedures. When you make landfall, you refill your food and fresh water. And then there's a whole team with a sub commander in charge of this groaning machine and its burden, and that is clearly what they're here for. Let's see. As I'm going to give you, because you got a 3 successes, you get a bonus too. As you're observing, you get the feeling you are being observed, Tatum, and you see again that bright pearlescent parrot kind of swoop not directly over you, but near where you're hidden in the underbrush. And as its wings beat, you hear a distinctive mechanical clacking sound that tells you that is not a natural bird. And it kind of goes clack, 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 clack past you.
They've got us in the sky.
It doesn't seem to have noticed you. It doesn't like turn around and look back, but it flies right over where you guys are hanging out.
I know I hate to be the one to suggest this, but larger groups are easier to see. So maybe we should split into twos. One of us take that big old crate thing. Anything they found on one of these old islands can't be good.
Yeah. All right. What is our goal with the big crate thing?
I think
Destroy it, stop them from moving it.
Hey, Cap in the Hat said that it's a bad idea to just try to destroy it, even though I got some wonderful fire sticks with me.
Okay, that's the last resort then. However, we might be able to get creative with stopping them from moving it.
Yeah, part of your mission is to deny the Imperium whatever's in that box.
Okay.
So,
looking at the engine that is pulling that, can I tell if there is any drivers on the inside, or is it an automaton type of vehicle?
Observant plus tools.
All right.
Just to see how the thing works. Because
Tools.
Steam technology you're familiar with. They're better with it here than your people were, but
okay. And then
we've
I
seen
add
this
my
before.
D8 too.
Yep. So approach plus skill plus a D8 for your situation.
Cool.
Now, might have been because my Zoom was having issues. What determines a success?
Oh, a 4 or better.
Okay, and it's on like each individual die. So like a 4 or better
Correct.
on this, 4 or better. Okay, thank you.
Each die counts as a success or not, and then you get between 0 and 3 successes based on what's 4 and up.
Sounds great.
2 successes.
2, excellent. There is a driver. There's kind of like an open air kind of cockpit with like a big wheel. And the person's kind of like looking back and then, kind of keeping it on the track.
Is there like a vent for them to get air access into?
Oh no, it's just open. You can see their chest up to their head. You can see the top of the wheel. It looks like there's a cover that can go over it in weather, like a glass cover, but that's open because it's hot. And they just cook in there if they're sitting in there. So they're just in the open air, kind of looking and occasionally shouting back like, "How's she doing on the left? Left's good, sir." It kind of goes back and
cool.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a basic nothing sinister about the technology. It looks like just a steam engine kind of, pulling device.
Cool.
Like a tow motor. A big tow motor. All right, so who is Team Taps going to deal with the box? Or is Taps going to go solo?
Taps, you and I could probably deal with the box.
If you want to take care of the vehicle, I can try to get to the top of it, maybe get a bird's eye view of what's inside the crate.
Well, I could stop the person in there. I might be able to stop the vehicle, but yeah, we'll figure it out.
All right, cool.
Do you want to, as I said, they got surveillance.
You want to try and take it out?
Can
If you're
I
going to try to mess with their thing, you want to try to take it out.
Can I do something weird?
Please.
Using the little, I want to hack the bird.
Yes.
Oh,
hell yes. Yeah, you.
I want to hack the bird because, I'm where I come from, this stuff's kind of primitive.
Yeah, I can hack this drone. What is this?
I want to hack this bird.
So what is your intent in hacking it? Do you want to be like subtle and see what it sees, or do you want to take it over and make it your bird?
I want to have us have the bird's eye view. I want to deprive them of the bird.
Okay. So you want to take it over. So
yes.
I'm going to call that forceful plus weird.
Does my science play into this as well?
If science is
high, weird is higher than science.
Yeah, I mean science does, but weird is better. So
okay then.
And weird's actually better for this than because your science doesn't match up with their science as well, but your weird is as you described. Yeah.
Here I go, and I get the D8 for the situation.
Yes.
That's 3 successes.
Nice.
All right. My weird's a D12.
Nice.
So you
D10. Sorry, D10. I said D12 out loud, but no, it's a D10.
You slip
How'd
into
you get a
D12?
D12?
This bird has a pretty complicated miniaturized difference engine running inside of it, which is to say it's the simplest thing you've ever hacked in your life. It's like a kid with blocks. And so you slip into its subroutines so that so you get what you want, you control the bird, but the person who thought they were controlling it still thinks they're controlling it. So things that you do with it will look like a glitch that they'll have to fix later. They don't know it's been hacked. That's your bonus. And you can just tap your little glowing thing to switch from bird view to U view.
You guys, the bird is currently in my possession.
Oh, that's fantastic, actually.
That took like 10 seconds. Her eyes rolled back in her head, and then she said that.
It was a lot easier than I anticipated.
Yeah,
why don't
she has to do like a little flip in the air, a little somersault in the
it
air.
It pulls an Immelman up in the air. Yeah.
It does a barrel roll.
Why don't you do a scan of the ship, a flyover of the ship, okay, and then a flyover of the direction of where that cube came from?
Flying over now.
All right. You fly over the ship, and you can see from your higher vantage point there are two ships. One is a large cargo ship carrying multiple things, but clearly sent to carry this big box. The second is a low-lying, sleek military ship. It looks like it's fitted for sails or an engine. And it has guns. And it is clearly like an escort ship. It's very quiet. There's not much activity on there. There's one hand on deck, just kind of a cross between standing at attention and dozing at attention, up against one of the lines. But yeah, it's clearly a military escort ship built to fight.
And Data will relay this information in her own Data way.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of words thrown in that are very unnecessary, but flavor it up with techno babble.
Excellent.
And like her eyes are just like, it's like her it's just pitch white eyes, and she's just
yeah, when you're looking through the yeah, like, perfect.
One military vessel stealth unit, class 4.
Nice.
Armed with multiple armed units, however, only one passenger on board. It is safe to surmise that the commander of this unit is the one piloting the original origin of the pilot of the ship. Based on current ranking and the number of applets.
And then go ahead.
Are there any other questions about the current status of the ships?
No.
No, I want my Christmas to come early. I'm gonna try and figure out what's in that present.
All right, so Data, as you bank west in your parrot, do a flyover of the box and the machine pulling it. It is mostly as I described. Big box, laboring engine dragging it along freshly cut path in the forest. But behind it, which you didn't see, are two soldiers. Both have rifles, both have some chest armor, and they're walking along, looking bored and hot, kind of talking to each other because their commander can't see them on the far side of the box. And so not super watchful, but they're there.
2 armed guards are currently protecting the, as you said, Christmas present.
All right, Shay and Taps, you have arrived at the box.
Cool.
You are like hunkered down in the underbrush as it's rolling past you, if you want to be.
I have an idea. Do you trust me?
Sure, yes. What's your idea?
Well, Taps isn't necessarily known for discussing his strategy. He's more known for kind of recklessly implementing it.
Gotcha.
I would like to use my gift, Mr. GM, of hardcore parkour.
Hell yeah.
I essentially want to use it, I believe at the other or it might be world. You make that determination. I basically want to use my hardcore parkour because they're standing in kind of an area where no one can see them. I want to use the environment that might be shielding them from their commander to be able to silently incapacitate them by using sick repelling moves.
Okay.
Off of either palm trees or the box. Just like pinball myself. That's what I'll call it, the pinball wizard.
All right, excellent. Let me just reread hardcore parkour really well.
Yep.
Dramatic shortcuts so they can't escape. Or make a path for others to follow.
Before he goes up,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell him to wet a cloth and put it over his nose.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. So I'm gonna say you can use your other power, and the effect it's gonna have is that you're gonna trap them back there with you.
Okay.
So whatever happens, they won't be able to like leave and attack your friends. And so your opening salvo is going to be a surprise because you're using your parkour. And depending on how you roll, we'll describe how that goes. And then the effect is they'll be kind of stuck in this tangle of activity with you, and you'll be able to try to deal with them on your own.
Would you consider that a forceful approach?
Yeah, forceful plus your gift die plus another D8. Yeah, it's forceful.
Okay, so that's straight D8s.
Nice.
While this is going on, Tatum is making his way to the military ship and taking advantage of the one with the shadows so that he is not seen.
Ooh.
Excellent. Is that your free ability?
That is this. It goes unnoticed unless you call attention to yourself by speaking or acting for the free ability.
Great. Yeah. You just slink over there and nobody notices you.
I have 2 successes.
Okay. So you land, you kick free some of the straps and chains that are holding this in place, and they whip around. And one tangles a guy's ankle and one wraps around his neck. And you kind of like Jackie Chan them into a little knot so they can't get away, but you're also kind of stuck here with them. Because they're kind of you're in the same situation that they're in. But you're all in it together. And because they're so surprised, I'll give you you can act first before they get to act against you.
Oh, then in that case,
you could like you could try to escape and leave them tangled up to work themselves free, or you could beat them up while
you said
they are
the straps
stuck.
came undone, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
A few of them. The ones you could kick and clip with your heels and that kind of thing.
So if the straps are no longer kind of holding that, I would actually, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'd like to try to open the box.
Sure. Awesome. This is going to be forceful plus tools, straightforward.
Okay, let me.
And the 2 soldiers are like, what's going on? Oh, my leg's caught. Ah.
Okay, is the situation still at what it was?
It is for now.
Oh boy. Oh, 1 success. Oh, that's bad on D8s.
It is. All right. So do you want to pay the price of success, or do you want to fail forward?
I would like to pay the cost of success, please.
All right.
I actually have a thing that we could do for that.
If all right, I could Shay, jump what in. Are you doing?
So Shay is going to be running interference, and every single one of the people that are in the ground or that she can reach is going to get a face full of cayenne pepper. Which is why I told you to wrap your nose.
Nice. I'm going to call that forceful plus art.
Oh, that's not good.
Because that's your cooking
that's
ability.
Okay. That's good. Okay.
Spice is life.
You take them to Flavor Town.
Yeah, they're going to Flavor Town. All right. 2 successes.
All right, so you're focusing more on the driver or the soldiers in the back or the workers in the middle?
Probably the soldiers or the driver.
You pick. It's because they're opposite ends, so you got to pick your priority.
Gotcha.
Because then the wind will carry the cayenne pepper elsewhere, but your initial blast of flavor goes...
I'm actually going to do the driver then, make him stop.
Perfect. He does. You're like, taste this. And you like blast him with cayenne pepper, and he starts gagging and sneezing and squealing in surprise and pain. He hits the wheel and the engine starts trundling and kind of slips down off of the into a ditch on the side of this trail they're following, and is like grinding and complaining. And the driver, she's just like, oh, what is this? It burns so bad. So Taps, you focus, you get out your trusty box cutter, and you shear through the straps holding this box together. You kick off a lock that's holding it shut, and then you didn't realize that this whole back part of it is a door and a ramp. And so this whole thing comes down on top of you, pinning you down in the sand. It's not heavy enough to crush you or kill you, but you're like, you're pinned under it. And through the box, you can feel that all this jostling has loosened whatever was inside, and it's beginning to slide slowly out of the box using the rear door as a ramp over Taps.
Oh no.
Tatum, you are slinking as only you can slink to where you can get wherever you want as long as you're not doing anything in particular. So
the goal is to get behind the one guy on the military vessel before
the commander.
Before the shenanigans pops off.
Okay. So you slip over to the boat, and they all obviously have gangplanks that they're mostly using, but you come in, it's only like, chest deep right here. There's a quick drop off where the ship is, but you come along the pylons that they've set down in the sand, and you grab one of those like rope climby things that hang over the side of boats, and you carefully climb up and slip over the railing, and you are down amongst some boxes on the deck, huddled behind this guy. And nothing happens yet, although you do hear some commotion from the other side of this kind of area, like someone's squealing and shouting, "Oh God, it burns my eyes." And then there's like a mechanical grinding sound.
Okay.
Data, you are if you're still in bird mode, that's
Bird.
Cool.
Bird. She's bird.
Your bird mode.
Bird is the word, so she is giving the good word via bird.
You are able to there's a slight telephoto effect the parrot's eyes have, and it has some its ears are parabolic listening devices, so you can kind of look over, you can see Tatum climbing onto the boat, and then look over, you can see Shay assaulting someone with cayenne pepper, and then you can see Taps, a door collapses on top of him once he busts it open, and then you see something gleaming, looks like green corroded copper or brass, like piping and plating, like a big machine maybe, sliding slowly backwards out of the box.
On a scale of 1 to 10, is the machine hackable? Can I project bird into machine that we're trying to take away from them?
I am going to say that you'll have to try to find out.
I want to try. What's the worst that can happen?
Pretty bad, but we'll see what happens.
I'm running. This is a one shot. I'm running.
Yeah. Drive it like you stole it. Absolutely.
Yep. So I'm guessing same roll.
Same roll.
Okay. My forceful's only a D4, so I'm praying.
Failure is interesting.
Oh yeah.
I know. I got 2 successes.
All right. It is hackable. It is much more complex than the bird. This one has a full-on, huge, miniaturized difference engine. Not full consciousness, but like it can solve basic problems based on its programming. You are you're in this thing. There's a little bit of just latent energy left in it. It feels like there's some batteries that have been charged, but also a lot of connections that are corroded. This thing has been wherever it was for a long time. And also there is a presence inside of it that makes you feel like nauseated and a little afraid and a little angry. It just kind of like coils inside of you. And all four of you notice that your exposure rate has gone up to 4. However, Data, you are inside this thing's works and it's slowly beginning to spin up. The batteries are activating. Sparks are flashing to try to get the engine running.
I want, because if I can't take 100% control of it, I at least want to initiate a shutdown so it doesn't activate and hurt anyone. So I'm trying to measure. I'm trying to measure out: do I shut this thing down in an effort to prevent it from activating, or do I try to take it over, knowing the threat it poses to myself?
Yeah, that's a good choice. Which way do you want to go? Either one will be a dice roll.
I'm gonna roll for myself to see what I do.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I rolled the d20. That was a nat 1, so I'm gonna go with the reckless option.
All right, so which one did you pick?
She's gonna try to fully take it over to prevent, to try to make it so she's the one who is piloting the beep boop of doom.
Okay, awesome. So this is going to be the other one would have been knowledgeable. This will be forceful again. Because you're trying to take over this beep boop of doom is a good way of describing it.
If you need
Is just as a question, Doug, our exposure went up by 1. Does that change our situation die yet?
It does. It's now a D6. How'd you do?
I just rolled a 7 on my D8, and now I gotta roll a D6. Because the other 2 are successes. So this is either a 3 successes or 2 successes.
All right.
If I can move my camera down. I can't. It's mounted.
I believe you.
It's a 6. So that's 3 successes.
Okay.
These rainbow dice are rolling really good, and I don't like it.
No problem, sir. So you begin powering this thing up, and you realize its function and also something of its sense of itself. Your advantage for getting 3 successes is that you will not increase the exposure level again yet. Because what you sense activating inside of it is tenebrous energy, blight energy. This thing runs on blight. And so now that you are puppeting it to some degree, you are also being reached out to with tendrils of blight that kind of like wrapping around your throat and around your midsection and just kind of like seeping into you. Feel tainted as you take this thing over. However, you are in, for the moment, full control of a tenebrous Goliath. This thing powers up and unfolds. It has a huge mechanical hand with like 3 thick fingers. It has a cannon on its right hand. It's just a big freaking cannon. It is able to see, and it's kind of like Terminator view, where it like flashes and scans living things and is like target, non-target, target, non-target. It highlights weapons that people are holding so that it can keep track of those. And then there's like a side bar that's like your hull integrity and electronics and hull integrity and difference engine integrity have like bars on the inside readout that you can see. And also there's something inside this that's really pissed off that you've taken it over. Inside of there's a presence that's like, oh, I'm gonna get you.
Immediate designation of ally as non-target unit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm immediately pinging Taps, Shay, Tatum, myself, and the Burb as non-hostile units. And non-targetable units.
I'll need you to roll this one.
Gosh.
Yeah, because this isn't an operating system you're accustomed to. So we're gonna do knowledgeable plus science or knowledgeable plus tools, your choice.
So my knowledgeable is a D8, my science is a D8, and our situation's a D6.
Right. So yeah, you're just like, okay, how do I interact with this user interface? Because it's not really meant to have an outside user.
And that would be 1 success.
All right.
Oh boy.
So you're designating non-combatants versus targets. Would you like to fail forward or pay the price of success?
Data is fully aware of their last mission, of how they were forced to leave someone behind because of the situation, and she doesn't want them to go through that again. So she already knows what's happening to her. She does not want the blight to be able to eat up on her failure, so she's going to choose to fail and not succeed at a cost.
So you won't be able to mark them as non-targets. Okay. So you fail, and so it's running its usual parameters, which identifies terminal personnel as non-targets at various levels, and then non-terminal personnel are like undetermined so far because nothing's been hostile to it yet.
You mean Imperium?
Oh, sorry, Imperium. Yeah, Imperium.
Yeah, because I was like, wow, I'm a non-target. Heck
nice, like you. No, Imperium. So it notes the Imperium. People have like a equivalent of an RFID tag that's like a "Don't shoot me" tag, in them. And you four do not.
Okay.
However, you chose not to succeed at a cost, and so exposure stays where it is.
Does my official looking ID give me an RFID tag?
Yes, actually.
Yeah.
So it does mark Tatum as Imperium. And then it probably doesn't see data because you're like over in the woods, glaring at it. So it marks Shay, and it's standing on Taps. Taps, you're being pressed down into the wet sand. So it marks Shay as a potential hostile. Shay, you see this enormous corroded brass face kind of turn ponderously and focus in on you, and this faint light ignites in the depths of its eyes. I'll say, Shay, what do you do? Because its attention is on you now.
I'm going to wave at it, and then I'm going to try to back away out of its vision. And
I'm gonna call that social plus tools.
Okay.
You're gonna try to like just back your way from the machine. No trouble here, buddy.
Real smooth.
Exactly.
Right? Oh man, that's all D6s.
You got this. I believe in you. Take my dice luck. Take all of it. I don't want to succeed anymore. Stop it.
It is the power of the rainbow dice.
It is. It's in the month of June.
Yes.
They're unstoppable. I got 1 success.
All right. You can succeed at a cost or fail forward.
I choose to fail forward.
All right. So exposure stays where it is.
Okay.
And the Goliath is now focused in on you. Lucky you. And so it is ignoring other people around it, which is good that it's ignoring them. The downside is there's this whining, electrical whining sound, and it seems like its cannon arm has powered up, and it's kind of tick, 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 bringing it to bear in your direction. Data, you see that it has identified Shay as a target. Taps.
Sorry.
Taps, what do you do?
All right, is this thing still standing on the gangplank on me?
No, let's say it steps off of the gangplank towards Shay. That's
Can
part of
I
the
can
that's
I
part of the fail
examine the
forward.
can I examine the back of this creature
Sure.
thing?
It's got some plating, but the plating is corroded. And so there's openings in the seams that wouldn't normally be there. And inside you see like something flashing and turning and some smoke escaping. It has an actual vent that's venting out whatever it's burning for energy, probably coal. Um, there's a lot of heat coming off the back, and you can see machinery through cracks in its plating.
I would like to jump on its back
Beautiful.
using hardcore parkour free ability
Yeah,
if I
done.
can.
Done.
And while I'm doing that, I'm looking at the holes in the armor and I'm grabbing my road flares.
Awesome. Describe how you look cool climbing up this thing with your hardcore
so
parkour.
so it's kind of like Shadow of the Colossus, I'm imagining, because I'm like a small kind of kitsune thing.
Mhm.
So I'm like looking at whatever like tubing is on it and like different like hinges or whatever in the armor that I can use as kind of like these little piton step ups or whatever.
Yep.
So I'm just kind of like swirl around like, you know, whatever hint of a tail that I have from my billowy pants as I'm kind of swinging and jumping to get up to that center plate.
You get to exactly where you want to be, and you have your road flares. You can light them if you want to.
I'm actually going to be holding them, and I'm just going to be grabbing the pull tabs with my fox teeth.
Mhm.
Just
All right.
and yep.
All right, so you're there. That's an action. The three they ignite. Whatever number you have ignites. Tatum. You from your vantage point, you can't see a lot of what's going on down there, but you do see a huge 12-foot tall corroded brass and metal Goliath. You see it looking around a bit, giving off automaton confusion, and then you see it kind of focus on something, and then it's bringing a cannon to bear.
I can't see Taps climbing it from here.
Sure you can. Yeah. You see like the flash of a foxtail on its back as he's whipping around and being awesome.
That certainly changes what I'm going to do from the gunship.
Take the shot.
I will. I'm going to, the one guy that's there, I'm going to knock him out.
Okay. Roll your forceful plus fighting. And your situation die is now a d6 because things are getting a little worse.
That is one success.
All right. Do you want to knock him out, but things get worse, or fail to knock him out, but things get a little better?
Let's make things worse.
Cool. All right. You jump on him, and he's stronger than he looks. You kind of fall backwards into some rigging, and it takes a little bit. You have to sort of do a blood choke. You didn't get a good shot on the back of his head, but after a few seconds, he's got. And as you kind of like push his unconscious body off of you, you see that the shining automaton's mirror face is looking right at you. Data.
It's fine.
Have the flares gone off yet?
They have not.
Okay.
He's been climbing as the Goliath is lining up a shot with Shay. Shay tried to shimmy out of the way, and the shot just followed the shimmy, unimpressed. And then you're back to you're seeing it like there's a percentage charge to its primary weapon, percentage charge to secondary weapon. Those two indicators have come on.
I'm gonna try to activate emergency shutdown procedures.
Nice. So this one is going to be knowledgeable and weird, or knowledgeable in science, and a D6 for situation.
And science. So knowledgeable is a D8, science is a D8, and
Nice.
a D6 for situation. Going with the weird die. Taste the rainbow. And then one more D8. That's 2 successes.
All right. Is just as it was spinning up, Shay, and you are staring down a barrel that is larger than your head in circumference, and like spinning, glowing stuff inside of it. Just getting ready to like, okay, I guess this is it for me. It just shudders, and then
Oh, okay.
and it the same way that it unfolded itself, it kind of folds back down, and its resting position is kind of like a lump, just like a bumpy lump of metal, clearly like folds down for easy shipping.
Um, okay. Am I able to take a turn now?
Yes.
Okay, with it shut down like that, what I would like to do is I want to get a little weird with some things.
Okay.
I would like to use some of my knowledge of chemistry and specifically science and how things interact with different metals to try and rust this thing up as much as I possibly can.
Okay, cool.
To where it's like seized up.
I like I'm gonna call that creative plus science.
Cool.
Because you're kind of like, I'm gonna take what I've got and I'm gonna science it hard and do some damage.
It's like taking honey to meat.
Exactly.
Or tomatoes and cast iron.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I
yeah,
love this.
Creative plus science plus a d6 for the situation.
Cool.
That is amazing, and I'm rooting for this so bad. Beat it with tomatoes.
2 successes.
All right. You pull tubes out of it and kind of sniff what's coming out of the tube. And one of them the pull is acrid and has extra shielding. And so you just shove that into the gear works. And you can watch on contact, it already has a patina over the metal.
Nice.
And as it's washing over, it's like bubbling and that blue crusty stuff is coming off of the brass. And you are rapid fire corroding its insides.
Fantastic.
Even as they spin down, they're grinding. Taps.
Yeah, I'm gonna shove those flares into the back of that mechanic. I wanna set this sucker on fire.
Conveniently, Shay, the stuff that you're using is flammable.
Ooh, nice.
So
Bonus.
you and Taps, you smell like a kind of a acetone kind of smell or something. It smells like paint thinner or maybe gasoline, something like that. But you shove. It's your last. Oh, that's a weird smell. As you shove your flares into the Goliath, and I would like for Taps and Shay to both roll observant plus athletics to figure out what's about to happen and dive to safety.
Oh, this
You
is
said observant plus athletics. Oh boy. Okay.
This is not my forte.
Because you're both like on this thing that is going to maybe detonate, certainly burst into flames.
Oh no. I have 0 successes.
Okay.
What? I have 2.
Okay. So Shay,
I rolled a 1 and 2 2s on a D10, a D8, and a D6.
Oh my god.
Oh
right,
boy.
So Shay, you dive gracefully free, realizing fire plus that smell is going to be fire. Roll over your shoulder and come up standing on the side of this track, and you look back and you see Taps, who is just kind of standing, hands on his hips, admiring his work. And then there's a boom, and then flames just erupt and envelop Taps.
Oh no.
There's no more Taps. There's just fire. Taps, you are.
I'm assuming I have a condition.
You are wounded.
Oh.
You are covered in. Your clothing is on fire. Your fur is on fire. You are covered in burns, and you are on top of a burning Goliath. And with your horrific burns, the thing you cannot currently do is you can't stand like sensory anything, like things touching you. Like your sense of touch is just cooked. Everything feels like pain.
It's like a really bad sunburn.
No.
Even clothing hurts.
Yeah, it's like a 3rd-degree burn over a bunch of your body. So Taps, you probably scream and tumble off of the Goliath onto the ground, because it takes some balance to stand there in the very heart of this fire.
Yeah, a little bit.
And you're just like rolling around in the wet sand. Everything feels like each particle of sand feels like a little knife. And you're like trying to put out this fire, and it's bad.
Can I go and help him?
You can.
Okay.
How would you like to help him?
I know that just like the stop, drop, and roll stuff.
Absolutely. Yep.
Just trying to help him pad out stuff.
Right.
Making sure that he doesn't get any, if there's anything open, he's not getting anything that could get infected in there.
Right. All right. So you run to help him. Tatum, and this will be, I think, because we have 6 minutes left. Tatum, this will be kind of we'll get to a point, probably cliffhanger with Tatum, and see what happens here. But what are you doing? The automaton is looking down at you. On the automaton's shoulder is that pearlescent parrot, kind of also staring at you with alternate eyes. No one has noticed except for this automaton yet, however, because you just quietly choked a guy out when other things were happening. What are you going to do?
I'm going to take out the automaton.
Excellent. How are you going to do it?
I imagine on the gunship I have access to a gun of some sort.
You absolutely do. There is there's the closest one. There's a 4-gun, and you will have to take out a pin to let it turn all the way back around, because usually guns can't shoot at their own boat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to call this forceful plus tools.
Plus tools.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Well, I got one.
Okay. Do you want to succeed with a cost or fail forward?
Yes, I would like there to be more costs.
Okay, excellent. So you spin around, and you don't have time. It kind of realizes what's happening. It was complacent, not thinking you had pulled out the inhibitor pin. But you swing the gun around. Don't have time to line it up perfectly, and fire. The whole ship rocks with the force, and this whatever comes out of it tears the right hand, the entire right arm, and most of its chest off of the automaton. And it kind of sparks, stutters, and then slumps to the deck with a clatter. The report echoes everywhere. Everyone's alerted to your presence there. Your exposure goes up to a 5. All of you notice, whoop, you're now in the middle of the yellow range. And we're going to pause there because we only have 4 minutes left, and didn't get to a better cliffhanger. But I didn't want to go over. So, scene. What's that?
Oh my
This
goodness.
is so much fun.
Nice.
This was really fun.
I'm glad. I had fun. I had fun running it. It's a fun game. Fortunately, because I ended up doing this, fortunately, it's a fun game to run.
Oh, I want to know what happens at the end of this. Because Data's consciousness is still in that thing, and it just got put on fire and rusted. She's not doing good.
No, it's not. That's not good. Yeah, and my notes for this, I mean, I've run the scenario or a version of it before, but I just had like half of a page written about like your names and what you're up to, and then about a page and a half of what the different blights can do, like their abilities. And that was it. That was all I needed to run what happened.
Nice.
It especially helps that the GM doesn't roll any dice, so I don't have to worry about what I roll. You don't have to wait for me to do it. I just really say what happens and you
skill
react.
Table, by the way, that skill table is slick.
This is definitely a great way to use some of the less often used dice in the dice bag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that skill table, writing a skill list is really difficult for like a new role-playing game, to be like, what are we going to focus on? What are we going to skip? How do we say things? Because from the sound of your intros, you guys know this, to varying degrees, and getting that right Like we're still having discussions over what to call different skills 3 years in.
You will continue to have that.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, it's going to get published, and you're going to be like, I have regrets.
Yeah. That goes without saying.
So overall, you enjoyed the system, the flexibility, and stuff like that.
I am very curious to see like how character advancement goes and everything. Like that's all stuff that now I'm like having questions. I'm like, okay, I see this. How does character advancement work? What do you do with it? Where do you go from there? This is really cool. I really like it.
So in general for advancement, I won't get into the details, but the basic intention is either you can raise one basic thing after every mission, or you can save up for 2 or 3 missions and do something major. So for example, after a mission, you can come back and you could raise 1 skill. Okay. Or you could raise 1 approach.
So like those X's in the boxes are just kind of temporary?
Yeah, those are to help you in character creation. And you can't have more skills. You can't have more skills at a higher level than the level below it.
Gotcha.
That makes sense. So if you have 4 D4 skills, you can't. So if you have 2 D8 skills, you can't have 3 D10 skills. Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you've got to like build up from the bottom. Right.
And then there's a cap then, natural cap then.
D12 too. Is the cap.
Yep.
And buying a new skill is more expensive than raising a skill. Usually like raising it to a 12 is harder than raising a D6 to a D8. Okay. And then if you save up for 2 or 3 sessions, you can buy a new gift from your realm. So you can have more than 1 gift as time goes on. You can also raise your gift die. So if you wanted to, if you're like, I love this gift, I do it all the time, you could just raise the gift die from a D8 to a D10.
Nice.
So now you're like a master of this gift, and then up to a D12 if you want. Or with about the same XP, you could have 3 gifts, but they're all at D8s. So you can kind of focus on one thing or have a broad suite of powers. And I feel like having more than 3 gifts in this system would be a lot, because each gift has 4 abilities under it. So it's just,
there's a lot you can do with all of the gifts. 12
things to track. I feel like 3 is a ton of gifts in this system.
Can I offer a suggestion with the gift?
Sure.
With the dice and everything like that, I actually didn't know what dice to roll with my gift. So maybe having a spot for dice, especially if you can level it up then. Putting that in there would be super, super helpful.
100%.
I know this isn't a feedback thing. I'm sorry.
No, feedback is good. Feedback is good. And this, the classic answer in the actual character sheet, that will totally be there.
Yeah. I figured as much
on the playbook.
Right.
So but no, this is really good.
Cool. It definitely gives me there was this well actually it's already 12:01. I don't want to ramble. I'm sorry. I was saying this reminds me a lot about a book series I read when I was a teenager. The Pendragon series is about a kid going to the different realms and trying to solve the problems. And it gave me that vibe, and I was like, I love this. I want to explore more about the Nexus. I want to know more about this. I want to make Nexus relations. I'm gonna
that's kind of your downtime thing. Like between missions, you'll have segments where you don't really roll dice, but you'll like maintain, because you have friends and family and instructors, and you might end a mission with conditions you still have to have addressed. So you'll go see the infirmary, or there's like a therapist, or you do whatever helps you recover.
I can my educational brain, I can see the soft skill building built into the mechanics. So like the interesting failure, I get caught up in my own story and I continue until somebody stops me, which is reaching out for help. Like I can see that all built into there. So
that's our goal, is that professionals, you can see the therapy and the goal achievement built in, but on the surface, it is a very fun system. And the final book will come with a lot of world tools where there are starter settings that we've created.
You can make new realms if you want. There doesn't have to be 8. We picked 8 because it was a good number at the time.
Well, it's awesome. I love it.
Is there any place anywhere anyone can go to like read more about the system right now, or is there going to be a Kickstarter?
TheOnyxPath's Discord has a channel about branch riders. And Jack and I are both there. Eddie Webb, who's helping us with it from Onyx Path, is on there. So, and we are happy to talk about this as much as people can tolerate.
Yeah.
And then later this year, there is going to be a Kickstarter.
Yeah, we're hoping
Cool.
for a Q4 launch.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's Save Against Fear. That's our target. We're in final draft mode. We're putting the layout stuff together so we want to get art before we develop our website and our landing page for info. So yeah, right. Yeah, you're right, Doug. On Discord is probably the best place to chat.
Yeah, that's the central hub.
You can also join us today. Doug and I, Dixie, and Rich are going to be in a panel on the TheOnyxPath Twitch at 5:30 Eastern time. That's the info panel. So that's full question time.
Yeah.
So if you're not in something else, join us then and we can answer any and all questions then.
And also feedback. I mean, we're working on finishing the draft, but that doesn't mean that we're immune to like a better idea. Or getting feedback like this was a place where it wasn't so great. This is where it's better. But yeah, questions, all the questions in the world could come there. And is there anything from chat that we missed before we close up?
People are saying it was a lot of fun, great game. I think people were just kind of into the story because once we kicked with the adventure, there wasn't a whole lot of chatter. I think people were just digging what was going on.
Cool.
Which is what you want, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, so for those of you watching, the character sheet was really, really cool. I know you probably can't, you didn't have access to it, but it was really, even though it was basic, it was very well laid out where we could follow everything and see what we were rolling.
Nice.
And so as players, that's actually super, super helpful because this is a different system that's really, really nice to have.
Yeah, I was writing things in as we went along. I used the Google Doc as like a place for me to take notes. I put my character's name is just a QR code.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm glad it worked. It's a quick and dirty Google Doc, but I'm glad it worked. I'm glad it was helpful.
Did you have any thoughts, Zach?
I thought it was good. It was a very interesting system. I can't quite place. There's some things that remind me of something else that I've seen streams of, so I can't
Savage
quite place
Worlds,
the name
maybe.
of it.
There's a little Savage Worlds to it.
I haven't watched Savage Worlds.
Little bit of Fate.
There's a little bit of Cavaliers of Mars too.
I don't have the game isn't out yet. The other game isn't out yet, so I don't have the mechanics to put side by side. It's just kind of how the calls for rolls. You roll this dice. So
yeah,
that sort of thing.
Oh, there's definitely inspirations that it's like the therapeutic and educational stuff. If you'll see it. And we'll acknowledge it in the text, but like this isn't made from nothing. All right, we are definitely running over. So
all right, sorry.
Thank you to everyone who played. Thank you to everyone who watched and who I guess might watch in the future. I had a wonderful time. This was Branch Riders, and check out the Bodhana group and Branch Riders panel at 5:30 on OnyxPath's Twitch stream.
Eastern time, yep.
Eastern, yeah, 5:30 Eastern time. Thank you all, and have a good afternoon.